I hear too many conversations where they're talking about intuition is not real. How come y'all don't use y'all intuition? Women don't use their intuition when it comes to choosing the wrong man, because we are conditioned to suppress it from the time we are very young. Our first, come on, our teenage loves. Like a lot of y'all are out there doing dirty. You her
Mm-hmm.
girl, your girl, but then you over here talking to Big Booty Judy. Now she see you talking to Big Booty Judy. She knows you
But
like
you,
Big
but you,
Judy. You're denying it. You're telling her, girl, you crazy. It's all in your head. And she wants to
that, and
believe
that's how it starts from back then. It starts to die from back then.
she wants to believe you. She wants to believe in you. So she starts suppressing it. Although she knows, then next thing you know what happens? She catches you with Big Booty Judy. So that
Yep,
relationship ends. Next relationship, same thing. But instead of like,
same
you
thing.
know what? Nope, my tuition is real. My intuition is real. I knew he was messing with Big Booty Judy. I don't care what he said. It turns out that was right. But in the next relationship, what does the guy say? I'm not him.
Yep.
I'm not him. I'm not gonna do that. And you can't put that on me because I'm not him. So she here again. I want to be a cooperative, agreeable mate. So I'm gonna suppress my intuition because I believe in you. And then same thing happens. But over time, when you do,
Or they go into it blind this time. Welcome back, y'all. This is the second episode of He Said, She Said. I have to say that slow because saying he said, she said, it just doesn't work. So this is episode number 2. I'm back with Letitia Underwood, and she's gonna and we got a bit of a rundown from some of her content. We're gonna use some of her stuff as the focus of our topics. We might use a lot of her stuff as the focus of our topics because she really gives a thorough breakdown, and there's always more than there is to a post. So we can have conversations around it, and as usual, we want you guys to jump in the comments, give us your feedback, be critical of us. That's okay. We can take it. We're grown out here. One of the first things I wanted to touch on was the post that I shared where you said the question is, are you choosing men like a man? Are you choosing men like a man? So women, are y'all choosing men like a man? Let me get that up on screen real quick because that one caught me off guard. I wasn't gonna go with that one initially, but when I saw it, I was like, oh shit, this is a good one right here.
really?
Because it's not, yeah, it's definitely a good one because I think a lot of us see it, but we don't call it for what it is, right? We don't look at it like that. So we've gotten to a point where now if a woman says I want the good looking man, the physically handsome man, and all these things that are that you're going to describe, I think we think in this day and age that that's okay.
Mm.
I just think that's where we've gotten in society because the world has got so comfortable. So, and you said women need to stop, or women must stop engaging in masculine mate selection. I'm going to give a read to it. It says, many women are unknowingly sabotaging their dating success because they're selecting mates like men do. Society has conditioned women to believe they must choose men the way men choose women, prioritizing physical attraction, financial status, or charm over deep qualities like emotional security, leadership, and integrity. But here's the truth. Men and women are wired differently when it comes to relationships. Masculine men can be visually driven, but feminine women thrive in relationships by prioritizing emotional safety, character, and compatibility. If you're making dating decisions based on lust, excitement, or social status, you're choosing like men, which often leads to short-lived connections, low emotional fulfillment, and wasted time. Boy, she not lying, y'all. I'm just saying she's not lying. And Now, do you want me to read the signs, or do you want to talk about the signs? Because I can read the signs. I don't mind. I don't mind reading all the
No,
way
go
down
ahead
it.
and read the signs
Um,
because they're gonna want.
okay, so I'm gonna read the signs. Yes, right. So yes, attraction matters, but if you're placing a man's height, muscles, or style over his ability to lead and commit, you're choosing like a man. A man can be physically attractive and still be emotionally unavailable, immature, or a liability. Instead of asking, "Do I want to sleep with him?" ask, "Will this man create a stable life for me?" Focusing on status over emotional availability. A man's money, job, title, or influence doesn't make him a good mate. Women often confuse a man's success with his ability to provide emotionally. A CEO can be a serial cheater. A doctor can lack integrity. A high value man isn't just successful, he has self discipline, emotional depth, and strong values. Overlooking how he treats others. This is a big one. This is a big one because a lot of y'all get fixated on assholes because y'all like how they move the needle in their world. But man, if this look at how the man treats the server. When you go to a restaurant, look at how he treats the server. But anyway, men who lack respect for others will eventually lack respect for you. Pay attention to how he talks about his exes, how he treats service workers, and whether he keeps his word. A man's true nature isn't in how he treats you when he treats you when he wants you. It's how he treats people who can do nothing for him. Chasing excite. I want to tap into that one just a little bit. One of my favorite leaders that I ever worked with um, said that he would not say good morning. He would say good morning to everybody, and that included the man that was dumping out his trash. He did not want he did not want the CEO or the biggest man in the building to feel any better about their interaction with him than the lowest man in the building, the lowest man being the man taking out the trash. Okay, so chasing excitement over stability. If you're choosing a man because he gives you butterflies, high chemistry, and a thrill, but he lacks consistency and effort, you're choosing from a masculine lens. Women who crave drama, emotional ups and downs, or intense passion often mistake dysfunction for love. Boy, oh boy. Choosing men who look good on paper but feel wrong if something no, I'm sorry. I'm gonna have to edit that part. Choosing men who look good on paper but feel wrong. If something feels off about him, but you keep ignoring it because he checks all the boxes, you're choosing with your eyes instead of your intuition. Women are naturally gifted with a strong intuition, but many ignore it because the man seems like a catch. Trying to win him over. Masculine women compete for men. Feminine women attract them. If you're over explaining your worth, convincing him to see your value, or working harder than him to build the relationship, you're in your masculine. The right man won't need to be convinced. He will already recognize your value. These what you bring to the table as men is who she talking about. Men recognize in our observations, we recognize everything she brings. Trust and believe. That's what we're supposed to be doing as men, observing. Okay. How to shift back into feminine mate selection. Prioritize his character over his looks. Does he have integrity? Can he lead? Does he make you feel safe? A handsome face won't matter in a relationship is filled with disrespect, neglect, or emotional chaos. Look at his actions, not just his words. Men can say all the right things, but actions never lie. A man's consistency, reliability, and follow through speaks louder than any sweet words he can tell you. Choose emotional safety over superficial excitement. The right man won't make you feel anxious, confused, or uncertain about feelings. Women bond through emotional connection, security, and consistency. If you're choosing men who make you feel unstable or on edge, you're picking from a masculine mindset. Let him lead, and if he can't, move on. That's so simple. Let him lead. And if he can't, move on. Masculine men naturally lead. Feminine women receive, observe, and respond. If you feel like you have to direct him, guide him, or teach him how to treat you, you are leading from masculine energy. Recognize that chemistry can be trauma bonding. High chemistry with an inconsistent, unavailable, or toxic man is often your trauma recognizing his. Peace might feel boring if you're used to emotional chaos, but a stable man is a true prize. The feminine woman chooses differently. A man can be attractive, financially secure, and charming, and still be a horrible mate. When women choose like men and end up in the same cycle of high attraction, low fulfillment, and emotional depletion, if you want a healthy, secure, fulfilling relationship, start choosing men from a feminine perspective. Does he make you feel emotionally safe? Is he consistent and reliable in his words and actions? Does he lead in a way that makes you feel easy? Does he have strong values and emotional intelligence? If he looks good but lacks substance, leadership, and integrity, he's not the one. Men choose with their eyes, women must choose with their intuition. If you date like a man, you'll get the same results men do: high attraction, low fulfillment. Feminine women choose differently. Date smarter, not harder. There's a lot in here, I agree with. I mean, and I can say from dating interactions that I could always tell which women were choosing like this. And I think one of the things that happens is men can easily confuse femininity, and so can women. The people confuse femininity with a look, with a look and a sweet voice and da 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 da. That's kind of what we tend to let me get this off screen. Let's see if I can get it down. That's kind of what we tend to look at as feminine. So she looks good, smells good, sounds good. She must be this feminine woman. I can tell you that. Let's go cultural for a second. Our South American, Latina sisters, they love that chaotic back and forth, up and down, that unstable makeup to break up, the thing that y'all call spicy and passionate and all that. That's a lot of what she's discussing down there in one of her examples of those, that instability, that on edge, and when that excites you, you're coming from the wrong place. And yes, men can get excited by some of those things because we like roller coasters to a degree. But women aren't supposed to be operating on the same wavelength. And I don't mean men, and I'm not saying men should be out here looking for unstable women, but we like the switch up. Women prefer the consistency. And I think men will confuse that women prefer consistency with you as a man can't be creative and surprising. My wife loved the first time I walked into her office with her gifts in front of all her coworkers for the first time I could ever do it. She loved it. That's the kind of surprises. That's the kind of inconsistency they like. They don't like the inconsistency of you said you were going to do something, but you didn't do it. You did it this time, but you didn't do it. Or you did it every other time, but not every other time. Like that's not what we're talking about. Those kind of things. But anyway, I want you to elaborate on some of this because this is really, really important stuff, especially when you talk about prioritizing character over those physical attributes. And I want you to also kind of break down how that needs to tie into sex too, because we're in this era where, I'm not blaming women for it, but women want good sex. So they want good sex from a man that they find physically attracted to. And sometimes those things don't come in the package of the right guy. So how do they marry the two of them?
So, as I was reading this, I was like, wow, I must have been in flow state because this is a lot.
Yeah, that was a lot. I
was like, man.
I was like, you want me to keep reading?
Oh sometimes I'm just writing these things and I'm just, going
yeah, that was definitely the book of Leviticus you had up there. That's what that was. Yeah.
But what I want women to understand that this is not about punching down on women and saying y'all too masculine, right? I really, really do want women to understand that the reason why you're struggling is because you're not leading with your femininity. Not saying the women aren't feminine, but they're not leading with their femininity. I get it. I understand why, because of the society that we're in, especially when it comes to Black women, especially the conversations in the past 5-6 years, um, where women's feelings, especially on social media, have been invalidated, dismissed, made to feel like they're it's not a real thing, right? Into women's intuition is not a real thing. Being in a relationship
Mm-hmm.
with a guy, your intuition kicks up and he gaslights you on that. So women have, in order to be in a relationship with a man, women have taught themselves or conditioned themselves to basically suppress their intuition.
Mm-hmm.
So when you suppress your intuition, then you're going to have to be in that analytical side. And so now you're thinking more. So you're thinking about the things that you need versus how you feel about the things that he is saying. Because um, when it comes to mate selection and selecting from your feminine intuition, it's about you essentially, the man is in front of you, he's telling you what he wants, and then you lean in and tap into your intuition so that you can agree or not agree, and you're agreeing and not agreeing based on how you feel. It really
Mm-hmm.
comes down to that. And men, and I know the men are like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, see, this is how you end up in divorce, this is how men get screwed, because women are going off of how they feel. But this is how you have a much more fulfilling with the relationship with the woman, because as long as you continue to make her feel good, then the
I,
relationship can be successful. Now, I'm not saying that men have to like simp for a woman's emotions and her feelings, but her feeling good about you and her feeling good about how you treat her is essential to the relationship. So if he's telling you things about himself, he's telling you things about what he will do and what he won't do, things about what he wants and what he doesn't want, tap into your intuition about, do I feel safe with this guy? Like, okay,
mm-hmm.
telling me these things about him. Um, One thing I look for is character. He's telling me about things about how he lied or he betrayed someone or how he stole from somebody or how, he may have killed somebody or he's in prison because he did this. Now, would you really feel safe with that person? If you had children with this person, will you feel safe? And even in the things that he is doing, how is he talking about how he's going to make sure his family is safe, right? When you try to have that conversation, does he dismiss what you're saying? Does he dismiss your feelings? Does he
Mm-hmm.
dismiss your concerns? When he dismiss your feelings or he dismiss your concerns, what women tend to do is start to not feel safe. But because
Mm-hmm.
we are told that our intuition is bad, our intuition is wrong, it's misleading us. We're told these things by men. It's misleading us. So a woman's initial default is to suppress that feeling, and so she'll continue on, and then later on down the line, your
It's
intuition
not
that
there.
safe is exactly what's going to come back. You're not feeling safe in the relationship. He's not committed to you, or he's treating you like crap. So,
Man, let me so me and my peers, we get on the phone and talk to each other, vent to each other. Man, all these women talking how they feel. That, trust me, this is a real thing. Like, it don't matter how they feel. What matters is what's logically, what makes sense. Da da da. That's because we as men operate in that masculine frame all the time, and communication in our masculine frame works. Okay. Here's the issue. If you ever convert your woman to that masculine frame of thinking, you're converting her into a masculine frame of thinking in more ways than one. She's
mhm.
adopting your personality traits, your likenesses, to the point where she will not be the same feminine woman she was when y'all met. um I've done this. I mean, she was reading me. I have done this, invalidated feelings, because the way we as men process it is we invalidate feelings because we didn't intend to make them feel that. our intention to make them feel is not a condition of their feelings being valid, regardless of whether I intended to hurt. It doesn't mean that she shouldn't have been hurt. I had to learn that. Trust me. This is not me knowing this 15 years ago. This is literally just this is coming full circle. Because you're not on the a man isn't on the receiving end as a woman. You're not a woman, so you're not on the receiving end of yourself. You're not. So if women if you're choosing from a masculine lens, by default what she's saying is right. But guys, you're going to lose something in converting her into something like you. You're going to lose those feminine characteristics that you love. You're going to lose that giddiness, that happiness, that annoying cuteness that we think is the most ridiculous thing. You're going to lose that. That's going to slowly be dissolved away into, because you're beating down the annoying side. There's always two sides to a coin, right? The beautiful side of femininity is the glowing, the looking, the sexiness, blah 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 blah. The other side is the feelings, the emotional vulnerability, the things that we like. Oh my god, here I gotta deal with this. There's two sides to that shit, just like there's two sides to masculinity. Two sides to masculinity: protector, provider, all this other stuff is great. And then the other side is he could be a little stubborn, a little too manly. Like I got to tell him to, I don't know, maybe get his nails done. Those are kind of those other things, those other sides to it. But a woman can't sit there and try to turn you into her girlfriend the same way you can't try to turn her into a homeboy. It doesn't work that way. The other thing is, when women suppress intuition, we ultimately will lose. Mm-hmm. Because I don't know how many men can identify with this or not, but I have been in the presence of intuition and intuition actually benefiting me. When a woman says, I don't know about that person, I don't know about that situation, something just don't feel right, but everything on paper is telling me this is a good idea right here. This is solid. I should just that intuition. So it's not telling you to stop as a man. It's not telling you not to proceed as a man. It's telling you to, hey, there's a blind spot you might want to check out right there. You might be able to avoid stumbling upon something. When you invalidate her intuition and you make her feel like it's a non-existent thing, you make her feel like she's crazy for feeling and wondering about something that's making her uncomfortable. That happens in all areas of life. It does not only happen in y'all's relationship as it pertains to you. It starts happening everywhere. It even happens, it will trickle down to the children that y'all have. I tell my wife all the time when she says, damn, I should have went with my first mind, I say, you damn sure should have. I said, and then so whenever we go into scenarios, I'm like, girl, go with your first mind, go, hey, whatever it is, hey, go with that. And then if I need to help play cleanup later because maybe it wasn't quite right, that's okay. We'll deal with that. I'd rather that stuff be fine-tuned than to not, because hell, I'm going to benefit from it too.
So maybe the problem is that men don't understand the purpose of intuition, right? The purpose of intuition is innate in us. It's not something we made up. It's not something that we're just, dysregulated. No, intuition is for women because we are the weaker sex. Men have their physical bodies to be able to protect their family, to be able to protect their offspring. Women do not have that. So therefore, since we are the caretakers of the children, we are raising our children, we need to be able to protect our children. And intuition tells us there's danger there. So anxiety, what it is anxiety actually. Anxiety is a real thing. Anxiety is there to let us know there is danger, right? Now, our amygdala, I'm going to get scientific here. Our amygdala is activated, and then it signals to our prefrontal cortex, which then it judges whether or not this is a real threat or not. But anxiety is an emotion that will be experienced. And when she's feeling that emotion, even if it's very, like she can't even identify that it's anxiety. She just knows it doesn't feel right. She can't tell you, I'm anxious about this. Yep. I'm concerned. She'll tell you, this just doesn't feel right to me. The reason why is
Mm.
because she's in protective mode. And like you said, men can benefit. If she's looking at something that you're not
Man.
looking at, you have not spotted, she's going to say, yeah, I don't know about that. That doesn't feel right to me. And like you said, that's not intending for you to just do what she wants you to do. That's intending for you to look through all things, cross your
Yes, man.
dot your eyes to make sure you are considering things that could possibly go wrong. Consider this person's trying to get over on you. Consider this person's trying to play you. So it benefits you in all areas of your life. But I think for a lot of men, they just want to do what they want to do. So they become dismissive of it. Like a lot of times, women do use their intuition when it comes to being a man cheating, a man
Yeah.
not wanting to be committed. And then a woman will say, I don't, because she can't logically explain, meaning she can't use the right language, or she doesn't have facts. Let's put it. She doesn't have the
Yeah.
actual facts to point out and say, this is what I see that says you're cheating on me, or
Right.
this is what I see that says this man is going to over, he's going to, this man is going to do you dirty in this business agreement, or this woman actually wants you. All we can say is it doesn't feel right to us because we are observing something. It's making us anxious, but we know it's not right. So what men say is, because you don't have the facts to really support what you're saying, I'm going to dismiss you. Now, I'm not saying that she's going to be right. It's about being cautious. So how a man can handle that is by saying, I understand your concern. I'm going to look into it. I'm going to make sure that this is, this business deal is right. This guy is who he says he is. Or you know what, maybe I should consider the fact that this woman may like me. So maybe not put myself in a situation where the perception is that I am cheating, right? Or I get caught up in a situation, right? Or
Man.
um your surroundings, you're observing. I think, like, just consider of the fact that she is giving you a heads up that something's not right. But what men tend to do is immediately dismiss it. And so when men start dismissing it, over time she'll start suppressing that. I hear too many conversations where they're talking about intuition is not real. How come y'all don't use y'all intuition? Women don't use their intuition when it comes to choosing the wrong man, because we are conditioned to suppress it from the time we are very, very young. Our first, come on, our teenage loves. Like a lot of y'all are out there doing dirty. You her
Mm-hmm.
girl, your girl, but then you over here talking to Big Booty Judy. Now she see you talking to Big Booty Judy. She knows you
But
like
you,
Big
but you,
Judy. You're denying it. You're telling her, girl, you crazy. It's all in your head. And she wants to
that, and that's how it starts from back then. It starts to die from back then.
she wants to believe you. She wants to believe in you. So she starts suppressing it. Although she knows, then next thing you know what happens? She catches you with Big Booty Judy. So that
Yep.
relationship ends. Next relationship, same thing. But instead of like,
Same
you
thing.
know what? Nope, my tuition is real. My intuition is real. I knew he was messing with Big Booty Judy. I don't care what he said. It turns out that was right. But in the next relationship, what does the guy say? I'm not him.
Yep.
I'm not him. I'm not going to do that. And you can't put that on me because I'm not him. So she, here again, I want to be a cooperative, agreeable mate. So I'm going to suppress my intuition because I believe in you. And then same thing happens. But over time, when you do,
They go into it blind, like
yeah,
they want to come in blind. Some women that I'm, that I've had a lot of respect for. Some of them on Facebook, they are flat out like they play no games, and they let it be known up front. The first sign of shit, I am out. And at first, when I used to read that, I'm like, well, damn, what if what you thought was a thing wasn't a thing? This is what happens when a thing isn't a thing. I'm not telling you as a man that you have to prove yourself. What you will do as a man is recognize why it looked the way it did, and you will have an explanation. I remember me and my ex-wife were together. She walked into the room one time, and I was on the phone. And right as she was walking in, I was like, okay, bye. And I just quickly got off the phone. That looked suspect. Now, I noticed her energy just kind of shifted. She was a little funny and and I'm like, hey, you good? And she was like, yeah. And I'm like, no, something's wrong with you. What's going on? She was like, well, why when I walked in the bedroom, why was the door closed? And why when I walked in the bedroom did you just hang up the phone? And I'm like, what? Did I do that? First of all, I'm like, did I do that? And then it hit me, and I saw how it looked. Mm-hmm. She walks in the house, she comes upstairs, I'm in the room, the door's closed, this, that, and third. So I was like, you know what? I see what you saw. Let me explain. I'm like, when you walked in, I was on the phone with my best friend at the time. I was like, I knew you were coming in the house. The door was closed because I was getting the room straightened up and doing some things. I was like, but I knew you were already on your way upstairs. So I was getting off the phone so I would greet you undistracted, because that was one of the things about me. You know, I had this thing about when you walk in your home, you come in undistracted. When your partner comes in your home, you greet them undistracted. Don't be on the, I mean, if you're doing business and you work from home, that's different. But generally speaking, your person walks in the door, you know, undistractedly go and greet them. And so I was trying to live up to the standard that I had set, you know, that sort of thing. And so she understood it. It was cool. I'm like, you know what, my bad. You know, that's not proving anything. That's not me being in my ego. That's me taking a step back, seeing it for what it looked like based on what she said, and saying, you know what, boom. Right. Though that's how it should be done. But let's be honest, brothers. When we bullshitting, we're going to come up with some bullshit. Just like when Big Booty Judy, and we know we checking for her, we going to come up with some bullshit. Oh, man, I ain't studying her. That's just my friend. Oh, we knew each other back then. That ain't nothing, man. You insecure. You tripping. See, this is why, man, on da-da-da. We going to go through everything to invalidate what that woman says. We know good and well we checking for Big Booty Judy. We know we checking for it, but we're going to jump through all the hoops to invalidate that. Because what do we want to do? We want to take some of that eyes off. We want to take some of that pressure off so we can maneuver how we want to maneuver. Let's not play games about what it is, fellas. We know what it is. So to your point, that intuition from back then, it starts getting broken down. So yeah, it's hard to pick up on the dude who's who has all the red flags when you've been conditioned that the red flags aren't red. They just a little yellow. Right. They don't worry about that stuff. It's okay. Ain't a little yellow. Don't worry about them red flags, girl. That ain't nothing. That's just a man being a man. You know, that sort of shit.
So I want to address how you handled that situation, because I know some women are like, oh, see, that's just, but men will say that and do that and they still on some BS. But there's there's a key difference in what you did that showed that you weren't on BS. Men who are on BS will immediately invalidate what the woman is saying, what she's feeling, right? They immediately get into defense mode. Oh, girl, what? Like, you serious? You doing that right now? Or no, it's why are you? They'll make excuses and justify. And then when she'll give her reasons as to why, like, no, because why would you shut the door? Why did you hang up the phone? Then they'll start to come in with a story, with a plausible story.
Yeah, but after invalidating, because then they thought of something.
So for men who are on BS, ladies, invalidation happens first, and then they'll come in with a plausible story, and that's what gets her like, okay, that makes sense. All right. But
because he had time to think, you had time to regroup. You know, as a player, give me a couple of minutes. Let me think. Okay,
exactly. The key is, if invalidation happens, he's on some BS. Follow your intuition. But if he did not invalidate what you're saying, like you said, you took a step back when she said you shut the door, and then when I came in the room, you immediately got off the phone. You thought about it before you spoke. You thought about it. You put yourself in her shoes, and
I'm like, how did that look?
And then you had a conversation about it, and you gave your explanation. So that's the key difference. I wanted women, because I know, because as I was listening to it, I was like, women don't think yeah, men are going on some BS. That's some BS because they'll say that. We've heard the plausible stories, but then I want women to know that the plausible stories only come after they dismiss your concerns, your feelings, your emotions. They'll be dismissive first. They'll invalidate first. Then they'll come up with a plausible story because then they have to make you feel, they have to get you back into that space where you are feeling calm, collected, and trusting them again, although they know they're on some BS. So that was the key
Now,
difference.
fellas, now, fellas, always have a plausible story front loaded. I'm just
No,
saying
don't
that's
teach them
horrible. That's
how to
horrible. That's
manipulate.
horrible. That's manipulation. That's bad. I'm sorry. That's horrible. Which, first of all, let's be clear. We men, men that are doing the most dirt. I'm gonna say most men because I can't speak for all. Most men that are doing dirt, we don't operate on that level of detail. Your brain that takes too much work. It takes way too much work to operate and think about all the pivots and the possible go-tos. This ain't basketball. In basketball, somebody who got moves, they got to move and a counter and a move and a counter. In boxing, same thing. In a relationship, if he's thinking that much, then unfortunately you got something you're dealing with, and I just hope you're not dealing with that girl. There was another point you made too that I wanted to. There was another one. Overlooking how he treats others. Boy, and again, the asshole idea that fake masculinity, that hyper masculine thing that y'all see when he's loud, he's obnoxious, and he's an asshole, but he's sweet to you. It's not real. He will at some point be an loud and obnoxious asshole towards you. Like it's coming. It's always coming. Stop being that type of guy. Now, I'm not saying that because women, I think oftentimes they don't want the friendly guy. The guy that's just too friendly. So that's the extreme. The friendly guy who's in everybody's faces smiling, and especially women's faces smiling. That's one extreme. The asshole is the guy on this other extreme that's trying to, that treats everybody a certain way to prove that he's a man. Those are what you really want to deal with. And men, being those as men, you're not doing yourself a service anyway. You're not going to get a quality woman, or you're not going to be able to keep a quality woman being like that. Because eventually, if you're an asshole, you're going to eventually break her down or run her off. And if you're a friendly ass dude, I mean, what that looks like. That looks like the player. So, speak to that a little bit, like how he treats others and how that's a clear indicator that you're choosing from a masculine space if you're choosing a man based on, or you're not choosing a man based on how he treats others.
So it comes down to how he views people. Are people useful to him? For a-hole, people who are not useful to him will be treated poorly, right? So I will tell women, look at his relationship with the mother of his child. Yeah. Does he, even if she's horrible, this is the woman that he chose. So does he take it out on his children because she's horrible? Does he, or is he just horrible to her, right? Look at his relationship with other family members. Look at relationships with staff, with people around him, even when he's driving, like just how he talks about people in general, his mindset around people. Does he like people? Does he have an affinity towards people? Can he be agreeable towards people even if he's not getting what he wants, he's not getting his way? The reason why I say this is because he may be sweet to you now, but when things aren't going right in the relationship, he's going to start to dog you. It's without question, because that's his baseline. That's who he is. That's who he is being. But he knows how to be sweet and kind and considerate towards someone when he's getting what he wants. But it's about when he is not getting what he wants, when things aren't going his way. How does he handle it? Case in point, serving a restaurant. I went on a date with a guy who was horrible to the wait staff because I ordered my steak well done. Yes, people, I like my steak well done. I normally don't order steak at a steakhouse, but that day I had a taste for steak. Ordered well done. They didn't bring it to me well done, and had them take it back. Again, it wasn't well done. So I said, you know what? It's okay. I'll eat it. Like I don't want my steak to end up burnt. But oh my goodness, he was like, no, this is ridiculous. He called the waiter over. Now the waiter has nothing to do with how food is cooked. He called him an imbecile. He was like, I don't know if you know what you're doing. This is why you're a waiter and blah. And he just, I was so embarrassed. I was so embarrassed at how he was like trying to tear this person down, who really was just trying to do their job. Um, yeah, I didn't talk to him after that because I knew all I could picture was, boy, if I make a mistake, if I do something wrong, this is exactly how he's.
That'll be you.
That's how he's going to talk to me. It's easy to put on a face and put on a mask when you're wanting something from someone. It's easy to put on a face and put on a mask when you're getting what you want. But when you're not getting what you want, and relationships are not always about what you want. There are times when you're not going to get what it is you want or how you want it. Mistakes are going to be made. Arguments, disagreements are going to be had. What happens? And then now you're stuck like, whoa, I can't believe this. Or like a man who is prone to fighting, who is constantly arguing and getting in fights. And there's no telling, you think, well, I'm a woman, he fights men. Well, I'm a woman, so he's never going to put his hands on me. He gets mad enough, right? In that frame of mind, he's looking at you like you're a man because you're talking to him like you're a man. So now he's going to treat you like a man. Someone who is very, very disagreeable, argumentative. They use foul language towards people. Like men, I have a problem with men calling people, women, the B word, using derogatory language towards women in general. Because in the end, when it's all said and done, when you start looking at me like that because our relationship is not going how you want it to go, next thing you know, that's how you're going to start talking to me. I have a boundary around being talked to like that. So for me, no, the B word, no one can call me the B word. So I'm very, very cautious dealing with men who use that word so casually. Um, but there are women who probably they don't mind it. So that part of it is not for you. But the way that he talks, just in general, the way that he treats people, but it's so hard to get women to see that, and I don't understand. It's like, listen, this man is, especially on social media, online, he is like, we go back to Summer Walker. I always use her as an example. This man talks so poorly about his baby's mothers. He made it seem like they were the problem. Now they fed into that perception because they're high anxiety, figuring that I got to get him told and I got to talk to him this way and I got to tell her about him. Fed into exactly what he was saying. They're crazy. And so it looked like they were crazy, but although he was driving crazy, it looked like it. So to her, she's like, I can understand why he's being that way. These women are being difficult. But then in the end, when she got pregnant, same thing happened to her. He started dismissing her, and he was poof, gone. And yet it's like, you saw the signs, it was there because of how he was treating them. A masculine man is not seeking to be chaos or chaotic or cause problems. He's looking to resolve them. He's looking to contain all of that crazy, chaotic feminine energy. So a man who is open to communication is always a good sign. Okay, let's talk about this. What's going on? What's happening? Okay, so you saw it that way, but this is what actually happened. This is exactly what's going on. Even if he has a difficult baby mama, a disagreeable, contentious baby mama, he will use the courts to handle that situation. He will find a solution to where his children are not going to be affected. But a man who walked away from his children because he cannot handle the baby mama that he chose, the ex-wife that he chose, that is a man who is showing you
Yep.
exactly what he's going to be, exactly how he's going to be when you are with him and you're not doing exactly what he wants you to do.
Oh yeah, I definitely agree. And man, you if you haven't seen it in real life, you will. If you get involved with that man, you will. If you're choosing men, through that feminine lens, as she broke down here, you're gonna come up with a lot of these results. It's a lot to tackle in this particular post. We won't go through all of it, but it's a lot. It's a lot. It's a lot. I urge people to kind of read it. Definitely go through it. Again, if you disagree and you want to highlight some other points, feel free, because we're gonna tackle another. Let this roll into another one of her posts where it talks about emotionally unavailable men. And now this
Okay,
one,
wait.
I think you had like.
Before you go
Go ahead.
into that, the biggest factor that I wanted to talk about with women, because this is what really got me, that's why the post was that women, especially black women, put too much priority on looks. Not saying that you don't need
Yeah,
to
go.
be attracted to the man, but there are other factors that help to create attraction. And in feminine, when you're leading with your feminine energy, that attraction comes by way of how he treats you, how he makes you feel. Can he lead?
Yeah.
Does he make you feel safe? Is he considerate of your feelings and emotions? So that attraction starts to develop over time. I've consistently, over observation and assessments and conversations with women, asked them to write a list of what they're looking for in a man. Now, that list does consist of character traits, right? He's got to be kind,
Mm-hmm.
he's got to be a leader, he's got to be all these things involving his character. But then I get to my most important question: have you ever met a guy who meets this list requirement? Yes, I have. What happened? It didn't work out. Who ended it? Typically her. Well, why did it not work out? Or why didn't you choose that guy? I wasn't attracted to him. The chemistry wasn't there. Okay, so what you're doing to is lying to yourself about how you are selecting. You are selecting with your eyes first, but then when you go to write it down, you're talking about all these character traits, but you meet such men, you are with such men, but in the end, it can't turn into anything real because the physical attraction was not there. So that's why I say you are choosing like a man, because men, there's a biological reason as to why physical attraction matters for men. The way that they function in order to procreate, because that's what nature is about for human beings, is to be able to procreate. So in order for a man to function, he has to be able to physically, he has to be attracted to her so he can physically get it up. I'm not trying to be vulgar, but in order for him to get it up,
Yeah.
he has to be physically attracted to the woman. So she's either going to have some body parts for short term mate selection, or she's going to be physically overall appealing when it comes to long term mate selection, because they need to be able to have sex with her. For women, we do not need physical attraction in order to have sex. We want it, but we don't need it because of the way our bodies function. We could be around an ugly man, but if that man is treating us good and we are ovulating, the juices is going to flow, right? If he is doing all the right things to turn us on, the juices are going to flow. But in the end, even if arousal doesn't happen, you still can procreate. Whereas with a man, it will be.
We it's impossible. Yeah. So yeah, coming from that bot. So that's so rough, man. That sounds so. So what? So how is that reprogrammed? So if a woman is indeed right, she just cannot get past the physical. She needs something more physically appealing. How do they retrain that brain? Like, is it even retrainable?
It is.
Like,
It is. They're gonna have to start focusing, really focus on how they feel. What had okay. So how it works is you're gonna have to accept that you have feelings and emotions first and foremost as a woman. As Black women, we are constantly gaslit, manipulated, and to the point where we condition ourselves out of anytime we have a feeling or emotion that we can't readily identify, we don't have any facts of support, we tend to suppress it. You have to get comfortable with how you feel about a man that's trying to pursue you. You have to get it's going to be in all areas of your life. How do I feel about this? How do I feel about this? How do I feel about this? And start identifying how you feel and why do you feel it and what you're feeling, right? Identify the emotion, have a conversation with yourself about that emotion and feel good about it. Whether it's a good emotion or a bad emotion, whether, even if you're angry, you're upset, even if you're jealous. Yes, okay, I'm jealous. Why am I jealous? Because I'm afraid that this man that I like and I want is going to choose someone else, and I don't want that to happen. Okay, well, that's not a bad thing. I can recognize it, but that's for me to deal with. Now I don't go in and make him feel crazy or make him feel some type of way because I'm jealous, but now I have to deal with the fact that I feel jealous. It's okay that I feel jealous. Now, what am I going to do about my jealousy? I have to deal with that myself and say, you know what? Is he really doing anything to cause me to feel jealous? Or if he is, then I have to make a decision that I'm going to walk away from this relationship. That's how I deal with that jealousy. Or if he's not doing anything, and this is, it is in my head, like, then I need to deal with that and have a conversation with myself. I can tell him, I feel jealous. This is the reason why I'm feeling this way, and accept what he is saying. Like, okay, that's not what that was. I'm sorry, that you're feeling that way, but that's not what that was. But it all starts with identifying your emotions, accepting your feelings, and not suppressing. And that's all areas of your life, and having these conversations with yourself and being able to tap into your intuition. And what's going to happen is that you start telling yourself, I want to be treated well. I want to be treated well. I want to be cherished. I want a man who's going to lead. I want a man who's going to protect. So when you get the good looking men who can't do that, you discard them. You don't deal
Yep.
with good looking men who can't do that. I'm not telling you get with an ugly man, but you don't deal
Just
with good
saying,
looking
don't
men
waste your
who can't do
time.
that.
Don't waste
Now,
the time. Like,
if you get a good looking man who can do that, that's fine. You're lucky. If you got a fine man who can do that, count yourself as blessed. But if you come across a guy who, he just doesn't dress well, that's an easy fix. There are lots of he may be a little bit chubby than you like. That's an easy fix. Things are fixable. Now, if he has a mindset that he doesn't care about his hygiene, he doesn't care about how he looks,
yeah,
I get it. That's not an easy fix because that's mindset. That man just seems like it's not important to him. So when it's not important that he presents himself well and it's important to you, I get it. But if you got the man who just doesn't know how to do it, that's an easy fix. But if you cannot get a fine man or a handsome man who can lead, who can cherish you, provide for you, make you feel safe, you cannot find that man, and all you're coming across is men whom, you don't have to put a bag on their head, but people are going to be like, oh, you're too pretty for him. But then you have to ask yourself, are you really in your feminine if you're focusing on looks? Like, I would always say the woman has to be the pretty one in a relationship. When it comes to for a
yeah,
man to cherish you and treat you well, and I know I'm gonna get some flack for this, but pretty women never really complain about being treated well. They complain about commitment and loyalty. When it comes to being cherished, they don't complain about that. Why? Because men just really want to do right by the woman that they find physically appealing. Now we can get into the emotional available man, the non-committal man who is going to dog out a pretty woman. But for the most part, if he finds her, if and I'm not saying you have to be exceptionally beautiful, but you have to be what he deems as the best looking woman that he can get. Now it may not be something that other men want, but for him, it's the best woman that he
yep.
can get. You are 8, 9, 10 in his eyes. Your mate value in a physical attraction is higher than his. That's the man who is going to cherish you. And while women are saying looks are not important, sorry, sweetie, but biology says otherwise. Evolutionary psychologist David Buss has done the research. Biological research has been done. This is just biology. Women wanting men to get past physical attraction, it's never going to happen. Men who are saying that looks don't matter, those men are lying to themselves. Something else is going on. I had this conversation with someone the other day. He said, "Well, you'll see a man with a woman and other men would think, I don't, she's not attractive, but he finds her physically attractive. There's something
Yep.
about her that he has found physically attractive." So because men, other for long term, physical attraction is going to matter. So when it comes to women and operating from their feminine space, I'm not saying that you shouldn't focus on being physically attracted to a man. It's just going to be different. What you find physically attractive about him is what based on how he makes you feel, how he treats you. Does he make you feel safe? Does he provide? Does he lead? Doing all of these things. That's how you end up seeing very beautiful women with men who are not lookers, men who are short, men who are you're like, man, how did you get that? It's because he's
Mm-hmm.
making her feel like a woman. When women focus on this man being a smooth talker, you are in your masculine, right? Especially when it comes like so it's not about him being such a smooth talker, him using that smooth
For lack
language.
of better words, he's making her
Sometimes
feel
I
like a
mean he
woman.
should know how to articulate.
And I'd say men, be careful if you are a good looking man. Be very careful. Be very careful with this need that some of y'all, and it ain't me. I ain't one of these. You got to be the best looking thing in the room as a man. Some of y'all are fashionistas. Some of y'all men are fashionistas. Some of y'all are bad. I'm gonna be nice because Letitia doesn't like the B word. So I'm gonna say some of y'all are bad B words. Some of y'all men are bad B words. That's how y'all present. Be very careful as a man if you have that peacocking sort of thing. Be very careful with that. Kind of dial that down. Matter of fact, just evaluate that characteristic because again, like she said, you don't want to be. You as a man should not want to be the prettiest thing. You got that pretty thing on your arm. The best compliment ever is when this woman gets the compliment.
Mhm.
I don't need them to say, y'all look good. I'm excited when they say, dang, she looks good. And da, 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 da. You a lucky man right here. And I'm gonna, hey, you know what I'm saying? I feel good about my because she's with me. How she feels about me is all that matters. I don't care what other people think. And I kind of got an idea anyway. But when she pops, it's like
Mhm.
that the way that red pops off that white. She's the red and you're the white in the background, man. Just kind of yeah, y'all look good together. Don't get it wrong, but she pops. Um, don't be the fashionista type guy. Don't be the bad bee. Please don't do that because if that's what you have going on, you as a man, you're never gonna you're probably never going to attract the type of woman that you want because you will always be trying to match that energy she has. And as I always say, men, we don't match energy. We don't match women's energy. This whole energy matching stage and we're in society, the whole petty stage and energy matching. Men, we don't match energy. We lead with ours. So you trying to match energy, trying to make sure you match what she does physically attractive. You trying to get on her level. No, 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 no. That's not what we do, gentlemen.
Women,
Um,
women, because women, and when you, so as a woman, if you're looking at, well, he makes me look good. He's the one who's getting all the compliments. Like, girl, he look fine, or like, you're looking for him to make you look more physically appealing by how he looks or how he dresses. Yes, you are operating from a masculine
yeah.
mindset because it's really about his character, his presence. Can he command a room by his presence, his energy as a man, rather than how he looks? Because let's just face it, men aren't going to be dapping other men up based on how they look, unless they're around each other. I don't know, but when men when
That's not what we do.
when a man
That's
walks in
not
a
what we.
room with his woman, the first thing they're gonna do is dap him up over his woman. Like we all just like the you go to the
Yeah, of
you go
course.
to you go to the cookout and your uncle gives you that validation, like that's
Boy,
you,
look at
that's
you,
you.
look at you,
That's
boy,
you.
look at
He's
you.
saying that based on your woman. He not saying, man, look at you. I see you, big money with the, because you wearing a Louis Vuitton belt and all that other stuff. You got a
Yeah, take that
Hermes
shit
bag.
off.
The uncle's not, he's not gonna be like that. I see you, player. No, he may say that about your car, right? Because that's what men do. But he'll say that about your woman. So women need to understand that if you're looking, I got this man and I can't wait to show him off so everybody can tell me how good looking he is, right? No. Um, the thing is they want to know, what does he do and how does he treat you. That's how they're gonna know, wow,
Yeah.
you got a good man. If you have all your friends and everybody around just talking about girl, but how does he look, he don't look like nothing, they are in their masculine. So you
Absolutely.
don't want to then start adapting that mindset based off of them. You need to get a new group of friends who are operating in their feminine energy, because women who are operating in their feminine energy are focused on how he's treating you, and can he do those things that a masculine man does, which is provide, protect, and lead, and all those other things. So I just want women, if you're looking for him to make you look good, and I'm not saying you have to be a 8, 9, and 10, but if you are not that and you are at the lower end of the scale and you're not doing what you need to make sure that you look good at all times, then yeah, you may end up with a 4, but that's okay. How does he treat you? That's really all that matters.
That's all that matters.
Unless you up your physical appeal, your physical attraction, then you can start getting men who look slightly better, but even still, you don't want to focus on too much on how he looks, because I know I'm gonna get a lot of flack. Well, the women are gonna be like, Letitia, like I just can't do it. I tell everybody, listen, my ex-husband, I don't do good-looking men. I really don't. Now in my 40s, though, listen, after my divorce, I don't know what
So
happened,
wrong. It's
especially
so
in my
wait.
40s.
Hold on. In your 40s, you stopped dealing with good looking men?
No. In my 40s, it seemed like all I'm doing is attracting good looking men. And I'm like, what the heck is going on? Like, I normally, like, since I
And
was
you're
a
like, I don't want y'all. I don't want y'all. You're like, no,
right,
y'all need to go away.
teenager, like the good looking guys just stayed away from me. I was fine with that because no offense, but I saw how they treated the women. I seen they had all these women around them. And I was like, I
Mhm.
don't want that. I was always a commitment minded girl. So I always wanted a relationship. So I dealt with the boys who uh weren't the most attractive, and that's how I met my ex-husband, and we had a great relationship until unfortunately due to circumstances out of our control that led to the demise of our marriage. But then after my divorce, it was like all these attractive men are hitting on me, and I give them a chance, but it's like
You
ah
like
it's
you. So hold on. Everything you realized as an adolescent was still the same as a 40. That stuff. Listen,
you know it.
parents. Let your children start getting your children ready to date as adolescents. Don't men, please don't let y'all sons become these 20-year-old, 30-year-old dudes that's miserable. Ladies, don't let y'all, because the same rules apply later. It's better that they have a grasp on it early, so when they see it, they like, oh nah. Like you just said, you knew which guys to avoid then. So now that they circling you, the sharks are in the water, you sitting there like, I don't know about y'all, because I remember how y'all used to roll. And then when you see it, you're like, I knew
it's,
that's y'all still the
it's the
same. Y'all still the
it's the
same.
same thing. It's the mindset. It's like our mindsets do not shift. I know what I want. I know how I want to be treated. We both can't be sitting here like princesses. Okay, it just doesn't
Yeah,
work.
I'm telling you. I'm telling you.
Like, but my daughter's married. My daughter, she's 24. She's been with her husband since their freshman year of college. She was 17 when she met. She knew that attraction was important to her, but I taught her from a young age how a guy treats you is what matters most. That's what matters most. And I taught her that from a young age. There was a young boy who liked her, and there, and she was just like, ew, he's being weird. And I was like, because he was like picking up dandelions in the yard and giving them to her. He would find little things that to give to her that he thought she would
Oh yeah,
like.
yeah. That's what you
Right.
want.
They
That's
were like
what you want.
7 or 8 years old. And she was like, that's weird. I was like, no, it's not. I'm like, he's showing you that he likes you. He's trying to show you that. I said, it's normal. I said, that's what you want. You don't want the boy who's pulling your hair. You don't want the boy who can't
There
treat you
you
well. You don't
go.
want the boy who can't communicate with you and tell you in a positive way that he likes you. No, this is normal. This is natural. So then she started opening up to him. It was so cute because us parents used to joke about how they're going to grow up and get married and everything, and we encouraged it because it was very innocent. So we encouraged it at a very
Yeah.
young. But I taught her at a very young age that a guy who likes you is going to cherish you. He's going to show you. So what? And it was just like how he treated her. He protected her when they were outside playing. So boys couldn't be mean to her. Even girls couldn't be mean to her. Like nobody could be mean
Mm-hmm.
to her. He made sure to I remember one time she came in and she was like, um, it was snowing. He shoveled. Now this is a little 7, 8 year old boy who wanted to shovel our walkway.
That's
Um,
crazy. Who is his
because
dad? Where his daddy at?
he said that he wanted to make sure that she didn't fall, because it had snowed and everything. And I remember his dad told me that his dad was like, no, her dad can get it and everything, and he was, but he was not trying to wait. He just said, I don't want her to
That's what I'm
fall and
talking
get
about.
hurt. So his dad, thought it was so cute. So they shoveled and then they explained to us what happened because my ex-husband was like, what the heck is going on? Who's shoveling? Like, what are you doing? Got some man coming over? I was like, no, I don't
This
have
my
nobody
this,
coming
yeah, yeah, yeah. This my yard. This my
over.
yard.
Right. And so his father explained to us what was happening. And he did it because he was seeing that his son was developing the qualities of a protector. And I was explaining that to my daughter. We explained it like that's what you want. You want so she
Absolutely.
knew by the time she got into high school and college. And she said there was guys that were after her, but she said the way that they would treat other women or the way that they would approach her and how they, it was just she's like, I didn't get that from that. I didn't get the care. I didn't get the consideration. I didn't get that they would be protective or lead or anything. So it's important to teach your children, your girls, these things young. I get a lot of flack about how young I'm like these lessons should be happening and how open you should be with them. But my daughter's 24 and she's married and she's happy and she's never been in this rat race of chaos and confusion, these murky waters of the dating pool. Because I did have those conversations and I did give her examples of this is what guys are supposed to do. This is how you're supposed to feel good about the guy that you're with. The guy,
Yep.
I remember her high school boyfriend. He wasn't making her feel good. He was very inconsiderate of her feelings. He was jealous. And I remember, I tried to stay out of it. And I remember one time I caught her crying. And I said, why are you crying? She's like, he just said something that I didn't like. And he's comparing me to some other girl. And I was like, okay, how does this make you feel? She's like, it doesn't make me feel good, Mom. And I was like, do you want to be with a boy who doesn't make you feel good about being with him? Like what he is doing is hurting you. And she said, no. And I said, so what do you think you need to do? She's like, I know I don't need to be with him, but she's like, I don't want to be without a boyfriend. I don't want to be my only friend without a boyfriend. And I was like, trust me, mama gets it. I understand it, but there are plenty of boys. And she didn't, it was like, I know in high school, it just seemed like they're all ignoring you. And she was a beautiful little girl. Um,
Hmm.
but I was like, this is not okay. And I don't want you to think that this is normal, nor that is it okay. I said,
Right.
people their feelings. It's okay to feel this way. And so she ended up ending that. And then she went off to college and she met her now husband. And she's like, Mom, I'm so grateful that you taught me this because I can't imagine being with a guy who treats me like crap. Like all of her friends are talking to her about, and she shows me these messages about her friends and how they're dealing with boys who are just not nice to them and they're frustrated and they're crying, they're upset. And she's like, Mom, I can't imagine at this age having to deal with that and continuously deal with that. She's like, it's boy after boy after boy. She's like, so she's like, I've learned very quickly. Her friends are like, "How are you able to? How are you able to find your husband? He's such a good guy, and you feel good about him." She's like, "Because I rejected all the boys who didn't make me feel good. They didn't make me feel good about being with them. They didn't make me feel good about who
Yeah,
they are and who they and being." I rejected them, and it was a lot of rejecting until she found the right one. And I think women are desperate and they're scared
there you
of
go.
being alone, and so they're giving attention and access to men who don't make them feel good. And I'm just here to tell women it's okay. Listen, I am I'm single. Yes, I am single. I am dating. I'm currently in a relationship. But if it comes down to you make me feeling good about this dynamic, meaning it's not about how much you where you take me to the most expensive restaurants, the expensive gifts or anything like that. It's about you being consistent, you having integrity, me feeling safe, me being protected. Like you are a good person that I feel comfortable and feel safe around. And if that's not happening, I'm not going to be with you. If you're not, one thing I ask men, will you consider my feelings and my emotions? And if I get any pushback on that, well, what's feelings and emotions and no, or women are too emotional and they all of that other than a yes, I already know this is not going to work.
But that's such a simple. People, I can be sometimes too literal. When somebody says, "Would you consider?" That answer should be yes. If that's somebody you like and are interested in, because you're asking, "Will I be considered?" It's consideration. Look up the definition of the word. Will you pay attention to it? Will you give it the benefit of the doubt? Will you, will you respond to it in a healthy manner? That's all it means. As
Exactly.
men, don't feel like you're being a simp for considering a woman's emotions. That's not what that is.
Mhm.
Consideration is like one thing my father used to make clear. He said, "Hey man, before you eat that last thing in the refrigerator, before you drink this, consider the next person. If it was Kool-Aid, make some more. And if it was something that was the last, say, hey, I'm gonna get the last of this. Go to the providers of the house, say, hey, mom, dad, hey, I'm finna eat the last of this. Do y'all want it?" And my dad would
Mhm.
say, maybe I'm gonna tell you, yeah, I do. I was saving that for lunch tomorrow. Or no, go ahead. It's
Mhm.
just consideration. It doesn't make you weak. It doesn't make you less than a man. It doesn't make you a simp. It doesn't mean the woman runs your household or runs you. It's just consideration.
Like it's
That's all
consideration
it
for the,
is.
it's like consideration for like if like, as a man, if you're telling a woman that you want to be in a relationship, you want to create a family with her, I look at your house as a consideration, right? Like how you live as a consideration. Do you
Mm-hmm.
even have a home to take a woman to, right? And
Yeah.
then is this home conducive for a woman to come in and make is this house is conducive for a woman to come in and make it a home? Now I don't believe men have to be exceptional homemakers like women, right? But if you use all the toilet tissue, okay, and you know you got a woman there, can you put a roll on the can you put a roll up there, right? Like if you're
Oh
dealing with
yes.
men and you're bringing them back to your place, be considerate of the fact that you're bringing a woman back to your place and you have things there to make her feel comfortable. Like you don't have
It
to,
gotta be.
like you
Gotta
don't
be you
gotta
nasty
like,
dudes. Y'all play smelling like bruh,
yes,
bruh. Keep it. Listen. Some wet wipes in your bathroom and some shit that smell in your room. Your house smells good. It
yes,
don't take a lot. Because when she comes in there, I've talked about my experiences. I've said this, and I'm 90. It's like a 99%. There was never a woman that spent the night at my house that if I left in the morning before she did, who did not clean up my home before she left. Never happened. Never ever happened. They would make
why
up the
why would they
bed.
do
They
that?
would go in there.
I'm not
What you
doing
mean?
that.
What? Because they were great women. They
Ah,
because they but let me because they were great. And here's why I say, because whatever
they
they
wouldn't
were
do that.
seeing. You said what?
They wanted to nest. That's what happens. Like,
Well,
yeah,
well, well.
you have a great place. Women immediately want to nest. She feels comfortable there. So now she's thinking, man, I got to show him that I can make this a
Well,
home. Like, I can really
well,
make this
that's
something for him.
and that's what I'm saying. Now, I'm not saying that there's a combination of things that have to happen for her to feel like that. Some of them might be desperate, that could be, and then some are just they naturally go there. Now, should they have been? I'm not
No,
going to say that they should
no.
have been. But I will say this. I will say this. It's a good sign for it, like as a man when you're observing. It's like this. It's the same thing. And I've said this before, and I remember we had a conversation about it. There's no person that should ever come to another person's dwelling upon invite without offering to bring. None. I would immediately, I didn't care who the woman was, what if you were invited to my crib, I didn't need you to bring anything. But if that woman didn't say, "Hey, I'm on my way over," you need me to do I need to bring anything?
Yeah.
9 times out of 10, the answer was no, just bring yourself. There might have been one time here or there where I was like, oh shit, I was cooking something and I didn't get this. Could you stop by and grab some parchment paper? That would be great. It could be, but it was the simple fact that she thought to say, hey, let me call and see if I need to bring anything. And most of the time they came over with a bottle of wine and anyway, women just show up with, hey, I brought a bottle of wine and we could nice. Those are the things. So leaving in them and clean up the place after, that's a good quality. But you gotta actually have some shit worth her even being comfortable, first of all, to stay the night. First of all,
Right.
she stayed the night. That your shit got to smell like something, look like something, be a little bit of something before the woman can even assess to even get to that point.
Right. So, like, if you don't have like, if you live with your mother or you live with other people, she's not going
No,
to feel like she can nest.
no,
Unless you're a
no.
kid, like, unless you're like college students, early
Yeah, yeah,
20s,
yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's
something
what
like that.
that's what life is
But,
supposed to be like.
but we're talking about grown people. You a late 20s, 30 something year old man, and you have roommates. You live with your mom or live with somebody, family, or you like, it's not necessarily about the actual dwelling, like, or you live in the projects, you live in an unsafe place, and for it to be unsafe and unkempt, that's just all around bad. But when you have a place that she could come to, and you've already showed her that you're going to care for her, you're going to take care of her, you're going to lead her properly, when she's there, she's gonna want to start nesting. And the thing is, you could just have a simple bare nothing there, a chair and a
Yeah,
TV
yeah.
and a
That's
game
not it.
system and your bed, and don't even have a headboard and no pillows, just maybe one or two pillows and a blanket just for you, and you got one towel. Next thing you know, she's gonna be trying to buy you some towels for your bathroom. I notice you
Trust
don't
and
have.
believe. Trust and believe. I have been the recipient of all that. And like I'll set out towels and the woman say, how do you use those towels? I'm like, what do you mean? They're so scratchy. Boy, I'm bringing you some new towels. Okay, like it's what
You
women
know,
do.
food in her,
It's what
like
they do.
the types of food that you want. You know, you worked all day, you work a lot, and she
Yep.
noticed your refrigerator's bare, so you're eating out a lot. She may put some groceries in the refrigerator for you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But this all, what the problem is men are expecting this without doing anything, and this kind of leads
No,
into
no,
the
no,
non.
no, no. That's not how that shit works. Yeah,
So
that that
you
that
have
that's not
to,
how that works.
yeah. So what I'm saying to women is that when a man shows that he is considerate of you, it's through how he takes care of himself, the life that he lives for what he wants. And if there is not alignment there, meaning he's saying he wants a family, he wants a wife, he wants a life partner, life mate, he wants a family, and nothing about his life shows that he wants that. Now, again, we're talking about middle-aged people. We're talking about adults, okay? We're talking about adults adulting,
Yeah.
and his life is not showing any of that. That to me is showing a man who is not considerate of his wife. Now, if you have a conversation about it and he tells you, because there is the one type of man who would say, I don't do it for myself, but I will do it for my family.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
right now, it's just me, so it's not a concern. I'm not focused on it,
Absolutely.
but I have this in place for my family.
For
Like
when that.
when I get married, I plan on buying a house. This is the place I want to buy a house in. When
Yeah.
I or this is the plan that I have in place. For me, I don't care about towels, but I want a woman that's going to come in and she's going to make this house a home and she's going to focus on that, and I have the funds for her. That's a man who is showing consideration, but the man who has no plan, nothing is looking like he is prepared for a wife or a family. He is showing you how he is going to treat you in the relationship and in a marriage. He is going to be inconsiderate in certain areas. Does that mean he lacks consideration all around and he's a horrible guy? No. But you can be best assured that your needs getting met are not going to be his priority.
Now I want to tap in. So we're gonna tap into these emotionally unavailable men, and we're not dunking. We're not dunking on men. We're not dunking on men. This is he said, she
I
said, and so she's dunking on men. I'm gonna come to our defense in certain areas, and then I'm gonna have to confirm what's true in certain areas. And in this particular one, so you had several posts on emotionally unavailable men, but I like the careers of emotionally unavailable men
am.
because I like when there are signs that are there before you even pull up a chair, right? And so and I'm on here, military person. So and I'm not gonna and I'm gonna keep it 100. I'll get into the weeds a little bit about it, but I want to read this first. Let me get it up here on the screen. And let's see, is it there now? Yeah, there we go. All right, it says certain careers, so careers of emotionally unavailable men. Pay attention. Certain careers tend to attract emotionally unavailable men, not because of the job itself, but because of the mindset and lifestyle that comes with it. These men are often highly ambitious, work obsessed, or thrive in environments that discourage emotional vulnerability. If a man's career requires him to be emotionally detached, constantly busy, or in environments that encourage avoidance, be mindful of how this may impact your relationship. I want to repeat something real quick for people that are going to take this and run one way with it and say, she's saying this about all men. It says, be mindful of how this may impact your relationship. We like to be literal. We need precision with words in the English language. So this is saying that these are some things that you can pay attention to that might help you avoid some bullshit down the line. All right. Careers where emotional unavailability is common. Entrepreneurs and business owners, obsessively focused on work, constantly grinding, work always comes first, relationships are when convenient, can struggle with work-life balance and emotional connection. Doctors and surgeons, high stress, long hours, and exhaustion leave little room for emotional investment. May lack emotional bandwidth for deep relationships, often trained to suppress emotions to handle intense situations. Military and law enforcement, emotionally conditioned to detach, suppress emotions, and be hyper masculine. High risk of post-traumatic stress disorder and or emotional numbing. Rigid structure makes vulnerability difficult. Professional athletes and fitness trainers, lifestyle built around discipline, performance, and personal goals. High level of external validation, often surrounded by attention-seeking women, can be hyper focused on self over relationship dynamics. Pilots, truck drivers, and offshore workers, constant travel and long periods of absence, hard to build emotional intimacy with, physical and emotionally distant. Relationships often feel like an afterthought. Investment bankers, stock traders, and high level executives. High pressure, money driven environments that prioritize results over relationships, used to making ruthless decisions, emotional connection isn't a priority. May struggle with workaholism and detachment. Tech engineers, coders, and gamers, logical, analytical, but often emotionally disconnected. Social skills and deep emotional conversations may not come naturally. can prioritize virtual connections over real life intimacy. Artists, musicians, and creatives, emotionally intense but often avoidant or unpredictable in relationships, prone to mood swings, impulsivity, and instability, may romanticize relationships but struggle with real commitment. What to watch for? Does his career consume his life? If work is always first, your emotional needs will come last. Does he use his job as an excuse for emotional distance? Being too busy is often code for not prioritizing you. Is he self aware and working on emotional growth? Some men in these fields can still be present partners, but only if they actively work on it. I'm going to repeat. Is he self aware and working on emotional growth? Some men in these fields can still be present partners, but only if they actively work on it. A successful career is great, but a man who can't balance work and emotional connection will always leave you feeling unfulfilled. Date smarter, not harder. Again, I want to repeat it again. Be mindful of how this may impact your relationship. I'm going to say that since I made such an emphasis on that, the drawback will be a little bit less. And let me say, as a military man, as somebody who's done this for a long time, this is very accurate. I work with men, I work with women. I will tell you surely that they will confirm a lot of this for you. Now, those that put in the work to be emotionally available and present, that's the win that you get from these lifestyles that provide a lot of stability and financial security. They provide that. Great, go for it. But observe the man that's in it, and men being in this kind of understand that you got to be able to separate the two. You can't be a drill instructor at home. There are times in life where all that emotional training and all that stoicism and all that less vulnerability, there are places outside of the military workspace where you will 100% benefit from being like that. You will not benefit from being like that in a relationship at home with your family. You will not. It's going to hurt them, and it's going to hurt you. There are a lot of men that retire from the military. They get through all these years in the military, and right at the end, they end up divorced. They end up divorced, and with those benefits and half those benefits going over to that wife that's dealt with this shit for all these years. Also, one little caveat to that is what we do in these jobs, especially in the military. The military has a lot of different tentacles, right? You know, there's Secret Service, then there's the regular people. Depending on what their jobs are in the military can determine these things specifically, because there are people in the military that have to work with people. You know, they're your health service people in the military, your administrators in the military, your corresponding agents in the military. They might function a little bit different than the average soldier or troop that has to detach. And then, like you said, those that go away for long periods of time that have to compartmentalize that and say, okay, I can't think about that, can't worry about that, can't be concerned about that because it takes away from my focus when I'm in the field. That's a real thing that we have to do. We have to block out this to handle this. Men, if you're in that cycle of having to block off this and you find it difficult to go back home and then be present, you're probably going to need some relationship counseling and therapy just to give you the tools to where you can reactivate. Actors oftentimes, especially method actors, Daniel Day-Lewis is one that talked about it. He would go so into character that before he would get back to his family, he would have to isolate himself somewhere and decompress from being this character for this amount of time. He would have to decompress. You as a man may have to decompress. You may have to take a moment, and you don't want to find yourself doing that with alcohol and substances, and you don't want to have to find it dealing with other outlets, you know, healthy outlets, finding a way. But yeah, these absolutely are some things to look at, because there are women that are with these men who will tell you for sure that they've had this experience. And me, myself, being honest, I've had to navigate that, especially when I was a bachelor and military, man, I got into a very good cycle of turning the switch on to date and relate real quick and turn it back off. Turn it on, turn it back off. It wasn't until I got married again to where I'm like in it all the time. I'm like, oh shit, this I got to keep this switch on. I have to keep this emotional awareness thing on because I have to be emotionally receptive, present, and responsible for this woman I married. Yeah, this is an actual thing, and it's not an indictment on you as a man because you're in these fields. Like she said, these are things that may present an issue. So, how do
So,
women approach this, knowing that these professions are abundant and they provide a good lifestyle? What should they look at very specifically in dealing with these men to determine that, okay, yeah, he's a firefighter or he's a police officer or he's whatever it is, he's an exec? What do they have to see very early on so they'll know that this isn't going to be an issue?
well, like you said, they have to be aware. Self-awareness is, I'm realizing now that self-awareness is something that I took for granted. I thought everyone was this way because I started coming into my self awareness at a very young age in childhood. I started coming into my self awareness, and self awareness is understanding myself and how I relate in my environment, knowing what I wanted, what I didn't want, what I liked, what I didn't like, what works for me, what was okay, what was not okay. Right? I started being able to recognize that at a very early age or very early age, and so I was thinking everyone was like this, especially as an adult. But even as an adult, I'm finding a lot of people do not have self awareness. So he has to have, that's why I put it on there. He's self aware and working on emotional growth. Meaning he is aware that even though he is in this field, he is in his career, that there are some things about him that is not conducive for a relationship. He's been told this by women, I'm pretty sure, all the time. You're not emotional. I can't connect with you, right? That's what women say. I
Yeah.
can't connect with you. I, you're not in tune with your emotions. Tap in, stuff like that. And if he constantly
Boy.
scapegoats the woman and constantly says, man, emotions aren't a real thing, or women need to, stop being so emotional, that is a man who lacks awareness. That is a man who's not willing to grow. But if he can relate back to the times where he has been accused of this and he is working on himself, not just saying he's working on himself, but what has he done to work on himself?
Yep.
Self-reflection, introspection, therapy, to deal with the past issues that got him this way. Therapy to deal with what's going on currently is important. So if he is actively working on it, he understands, because there are times where he may tap out. But when you're like, babe, so I need to talk to you, I need to communicate with you about this and blah, blah, blah. And if he is not dismissing you, he's not invalidating what you're saying, that is a man who is actively working on it. But a man who immediately becomes dismissive, and sometimes he may become dismissive, but then he'll correct himself. But if he's not willing to do that, he's just straight dismissive and it becomes an argument. He's not grasping what you're saying.
Or the shutdown, or the guy that just shuts all the way down. Like sometimes the argumentative guy, there's the opposite of that. The one that shuts all the way down, he goes straight cold and distances himself, and he
Right.
lets you deal with that on your own. And then he
Mhm.
circles back. Are you all right now? You over it now? And then you're like,
Exactly.
yeah, I'm good. That's not
That's
good.
not
That's not
good.
good.
That is not normal. But women have accepted that as this is normal behavior
Yeah.
because we see it too much. And that's the problem. It happens. So it's like, okay, maybe the problem is me because I'm seeing this in just about every guy I'm dating. There are guys out there who aren't like that. You said something about when you were in the military, right? My ex-husband was in the military. And before he got into the military, we had a very strong emotional connection. Like, this was the
Mm-hmm.
securest relationship I've ever been in. We could talk about anything. We can have disagreements and talk through them. It wasn't difficult. But once he went through that basic training, AIT, we're on base, slowly over time, his
And then
person.
being around those other people that are like that, everybody, there's all the men are like that, so you naturally conform, you naturally sort of adapt to it.
Okay, give me 1 second, real quick.
Yeah,
Sorry.
you could. Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay, sorry. I'm so sorry. So when he joined the military, his personality started shifting. It started changing. Our connection started changing. Um, and then when he went to Iraq and came back, he was a totally different person. Like, this was a person whom I felt like I could talk to about anything. And then all of a
Mm-hmm.
sudden, he didn't have the emotional bandwidth to deal with all of that. So that's why I say it's that's why I placed one of those in there, is because yes, the way that the military is set up, although the military does promote family, they do promote marriage, but they're promoting it for the well-being, because human connection is how we thrive.
Yep.
Men cannot thrive being alone. I don't care what they say, they cannot thrive being alone. So when you're in that situation, you're going to battle, you want to connect to someone, and having a significant other is because they'll prioritize you. So the military does, they do prioritize, and they do push marriage, they do push family, but what they don't do is help these men be able to save their relationships, because
Right.
and help them to be able to emotionally connect. Maybe it's something different now, because this was over 20 years ago when I was when I was an army wife.
It
um,
is it is getting. I will say this: there's a lot of change in these regards. It is getting better, but again, having been in it as long as I've have, once you've done this for 20 years, you have seen the changes. So it is, but it is still a world of men. And so just being that it is still a world of men, it defaults to that, even though the structure of the service might be trying to counteract it. Men being just amongst a bunch of men all the time, and dealing with some of the same issues, they don't want to take that back home, and then they kind of want to put home in one box, put wife family in one box, and operate over here, and the two, sometimes it doesn't come back. It can really distort perception and distort how we really should be functioning in the regular world with our loved ones, with our significant others as well, but our loved ones in general. Because children end up dealing with the shit too. Children
yeah.
will tell you that, dang, my dad was one way or can be one way, but
hmm
this other thing, yeah.
and that inconsistency is what's the problem. But you know who I think will have the biggest problem with this conversation? I've
Who's
noticed,
that?
and this is why I put them on the list: tech engineers, coders, and gamers. You seem to have a huge following with it seemed like a lot of the black men who really want relationships, who
Oh
want it,
man, yeah.
but they struggle in dating, they're in STEM,
Well,
right?
well, well. See,
They're
well,
STEM guys.
so it's the second thing that you talked about, the social skills and deep
Mm-hmm.
emotional man. Look. So, man, I get it, because they don't naturally have it, and it's not game, fellas. It's not game per se. It's the soft skills, right? Yeah, you didn't get it coming up. You can develop them later, but you have to really, really, really have a willingness to develop them. You really have to. Um, you have to be able to read a room, and sometimes those worlds that you might be from, you can't read a room,
Well,
and and
that's
and that,
because they're prioritizing connections online, right? It's a they're
yeah,
online a lot. So when you're online, virtual, it's going to be different than when you get into a room with people that are not made solely up of those people.
Right.
Then like, how do you engage with them? How do you deal with them? And they struggle. One thing I've found over the years is that they are very, very logical. They're very analytical, and they're the biggest ones who are going to complain about women's emotions. But the lack of self awareness
Yeah.
is that they don't understand that you're wanting her to operate like you so that it makes you easier to be with, but that's not how women operate. That's not a natural function of us to always be so logical and analytical. Some of us can be like, I'm a very analytical person, but I put high priority on how I feel, right? I put
Right.
a high priority on my emotions. Um, and but if I come to you and I'm telling you something you're saying or some I don't like something you're saying or something you're doing to me, and you don't understand and you're not trying to understand and you're getting frustrated and you're breaking down, or then you start to avoid, like you said, they'll shut down. They don't want to have a conversation about it. They become defensive or argumentative about it. um, but that's what I'm like, they're the ones who are always complaining about emotions, a woman's feelings.
Mm-hmm.
This is why divorces are so high, because women are leaving marriages that they just don't feel good about. Listen, women, the way women communicate is to tell you first is that I don't like it. I don't feel good. I don't like the way I was feeling. It didn't feel right. But there is a reason to it. And a lot of times these marriages are ending because there's not a connection there. The commitment is
Yeah.
not there. They're together, but they're not committed. There's not a connection there. A woman wants to feel like she belongs with you. She wants to feel connected to you. She wants to feel very close to you. That's why they always ask you what's going on. Like, tell me how you feel. Tell me what's going on with you, because then, as long as I know how you feel, I can connect to you. I can empathize with you. I don't feel shut out. I feel wanted. I feel desired. When you shut a woman out by not communicating with her, by not letting her know what's going on, then she won't feel connected to you, and then she won't feel cherished. She'll feel like you don't want her, and then so they leave. So lack of commitment, not feeling connected, finances not being right, infidelity. But a lot of these men are looking at, well, I don't cheat. Well, that's because you probably don't have the opportunity to now.
Wait,
But
hold on. Wait, I want to pause something real quick because you just talked about infidelity. You went into it just a little bit, and like you said, because they don't have the opportunity. I want to be very, very, very clear with men, and this is not excusing women's behavior. It's not. It's not. I promise you, it's not. I want you to be very careful with something. Women are going to vent. They're going to talk to somebody. I promise you, somebody is going to be the shoulder she cries on or the lap she's laying in. I urge you to not be so dismissive. I urge you to not be so distant and closing off and shutting out. Because, brother, let me tell you, if you do, the best case scenario is that she says, you know what? I want some therapy. And if you don't get with that, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and leave. We need to get a divorce. That's the best. That's the best outcome. There's always another outcome, and that outcome is very frequent and has become more frequent. Whereas that woman finds another lap to lay in, brother, and you know what the hell I'm talking about. You don't want to listen. She's going to be at work or somewhere complaining to somebody, and there's going to be a guy, and that guy is going to be like, "Oh my goodness, I don't know why your man wouldn't listen to you. He must not be a great guy." It happens. It happens all the time. I've been in the work environment and seen a woman with concerns. Maybe she should have been venting somewhere else. I don't know. And the guys swoop right in. Oh man, I wouldn't treat you like that. You could do better than that. Just pay attention. Again, you're not a simp for being emotionally available. You're not a simp for not being dismissive. You're not a simp because you didn't choose to dismiss her for until she got over it. Because trust me, women need an outlet, and you don't want that outlet to be another man. I promise you, you don't. It
so
happens.
I will never condone women cheating. I
I'm
will
not
never.
condoning it. I'm
I
just
will. No,
saying
no,
it
no, no. I'm not
happens.
saying
Yeah.
you're condoning it. I
Yeah.
just.
Yeah.
No, for me, I'm like leave. Like if you're
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
cheating,
Yeah.
you're not getting what you want, leave. But I get what you're saying. But yeah. So
Trust me,
I'm
fellas.
thinking back to who's gonna have the biggest issue when this episode airs. Who's gonna have the biggest issue with this list? And I noticed over the years, the reason why tech engineers, coders, gamers, artists, musicians, and creatives are on this list is because black men in the last few years are in the STEM fields, so they're tech
Mhm.
engineers, coders, and gamers, and they're also content creators, right? So those are the loudest voices that I've seen when they give so much pushback on women's emotions and feelings and making it seem like we're being irrational. And usually you come to find out the guy cheated, right? All these women are being irrational in their emotions, and the guy cheated, especially the creative, the artist, the right. He cheated, but her emotions, her emotions, they feel that leaving because of infidelity, leaving because he's not treating her right, that is illogical to them. So that's why they push heavy, and they're having all these conversations. All of these conversations are geared towards women being emotional. And I know I'm gonna get some pushback from women who have learned to suppress their feminine energy. So they are operating in their masculine energy to where they are adopting the mindset and talking points of men, to where now they're saying women are being illogical, prioritizing how they feel in their emotions in relationships. I'm not now what I'm not doing is condoning women weaponizing their emotions to get what they want. I did not raise a brat, and I don't condone women operating like brats. I don't condone women weaponizing their emotions and their feelings to manipulate men, in order to get out of being accountable and responsible for their behaviors or their actions. That's not what I'm talking about. What I am talking about is two people who want to be in a relationship, and for it to work, a woman has to be in tune with how she feels, and prioritize her feelings and how she feels about how she's being treated. And the man has to understand that women, especially for those who want feminine women, that is going to be a priority.
Mhm.
You have to be emotionally available. I mean, there are studies being done now because there is a epidemic of loneliness among singles, and
Yeah.
prevalent in that group is men's singleness. And the reason why women don't, and there's a studies being shown that as quiet as it's kept, as they don't want to say on social media, it's women who don't want to be in relationships. It's women who are skipping dating because they're tired of it. And men want relationships, men want to settle down, men want to be married. Well, the reason why women don't want this is because men do not have the skills and the tools necessary for them to want to be in a relationship. And one of those things is emotional availability. Uh, and that takes you being empathetic. And a lot of very analytical, logical
Mhm.
men, and I don't, and avoidant non-committal men lack empathy. So if you lack empathy, then yeah, you're going to be emotionally unavailable. So it's going to be a struggle to be with you. So for women who are tired, when I've gotten to the point where women are like, I'm tapped out, I don't want to be in a relationship anymore, that's when I realized, okay, I had to step in and have a conversation with women about how to avoid such men, because this is becoming ridiculous. I never thought I would see the day where women were like, I don't want to be in a relationship. I'm done. I'm cool.
What
I don't
what
want it.
and look at what they're competing with. See, men we're a byproduct of the things that we entertain to a degree, right? So men are complaining about the OnlyFans girls, while simultaneously being the reason that the OnlyFans girls are successful. But that transactional interaction that they have with the OnlyFans girl robs them of a real developing the real skills and having a real interaction with in life, real in the flesh women. So over the last decade or so, men haven't developed, or we've regressed in some ways because we've shortcutted the interaction, all of the pieces to interacting. So you're going online to get your interactions, you're going on websites to get your interaction, you're using porn to get off, all these different things. But then you think that when you're ready to settle down, that you're just going to step out into the world with some resources and be able to get the woman you want, but you lack the skills because while you were complaining about OnlyFans, you were patronizing OnlyFans. And while you were not having sex and not making baby mamas, you were using porn. And while all these different substitutes did not help you actually develop the skills to get out and date and relate. And women, like you said, are tapping out of it. The difference is, though, between women and men being lonely, women can tap out of dating and still have relating with one another because y'all are social creatures. Y'all gonna have homegirls and friends, and regardless of how toxic friend relationships can be with women, they're gonna go get their social fix.
Yes.
Men, we don't do like that. And don't lie and tell me y'all do. We do not go out and about. We don't go to nail shops, look over at what somebody else got going on and have an exchange and then have a homegirl just that fast. Now, we can talk about how those relationships that women develop, maybe they're not built on much, but it feeds their social soul. Whereas us, it takes a lot more for us to bond with male counterparts, and we do. But what happens when your male counterparts, let me tell y'all something. When I became a bachelor, when I was married the first time around and I divorced, my homeboys wasn't sitting there to circle the wagons and just come hang out with me because they were all married. So I couldn't now be the bachelor like, hey dude, what's up? I'm calling them on a Friday night. Let's go do something. No, I had to pivot, get back into the social world, develop my own social life, and then get back into the dating scene. And I couldn't do that through, okay, so yeah, you can do that through the internet to a degree. Facebook can be good for that. But then what happens? So I remember when Facebook groups jumped off, Facebook had Facebook groups. So it located, it put people in local areas. And then the best thing was people said, well, let's have meet and greets.
Yeah, right.
The people who did that healthily, I know people that got married out of those type of scenarios. So you got to be able to pull away from the screens, get away from the microphones, get in the world with real people, learn social cues, learn how to read the room, have some empathy because everything's not logical, analytical. You got to be able to deal with people's emotions and people's emotional reactions in a healthy manner so that they enjoy being around you and find you safe to be around and find you relatable. A lot of y'all ain't relatable.
But I also want women to be careful of not being driven so much by dopamine, right? Dopamine, feeling good, feeling like, when I talk about feeling good, I'm talking about feeling good about the fact that when you imagine a relationship with this man, you feel safe, protected, and led, right? You feel cherished. Not feeling good about, oh, he took me to get a $500 steak, or he took me on an air balloon ride, or he took me to Loon. It's one thing to like these things and enjoy these things, but I don't want women to get caught up on these. I need these things in order to feel good, because then now you are focusing. It's all about dopamine. And while dopamine in the beginning is great, that oxytocin needs to be flowing in order for that connection to happen. And one thing I want women to understand, this goes back to the masculine conversation. Men love listening, hearing, not listening. We like listening to us, but y'all love hearing us speak because you love our voice, the way it sounds, the way it makes you feel, gets the dopamine spiking for you. And the conversation, the type of conversation she has, it draws men in. When women focus on this man being a smooth talker, you are in your masculine, right? especially when it comes like, so it's not about him being such a smooth talker, him using that smooth language. Sometimes, I mean, he should know how to articulate himself, but not every man has that in him, right? So I don't want women to get into the habit of, oh, I can't, I got to discount him, I don't want him because
Because he's not smooth. Yeah, yeah.
he's suave, but yet he can carry a conversation. Now, I also want men not to get into the habit, like the tech engineers and coders and stuff and gamers, to get into the habit of you're only thinking of yourself in these conversations. So you're either very logical, analytical, or you want to talk about anime or you're gaming, right? You can't switch it up. You need to be well rounded and have areas of topics where you guys can communicate on,
Oh
have
my
the same
God.
interest in,
Yes.
like, and you tap into that. So if she's into politics, you're into politics. Now that doesn't mean you have to get to arguing, especially if y'all on different sides. um but or religion or whatever, like you a favorite show that you're interested in or a
Hmm.
movie or something, but you have to communicate. But there are some men who are not going to have that suave factor, right?
Yeah.
They're not comfortable with double entendres, although those are good, fellas, to be able to use double
Yeah, it
entendre
is. Yeah,
sexual
it is,
and you can
boy.
continue in your
Yeah, it is, boy.
friend. But I want women to know that I'm not talking about you have to feel good about the type of conversation he is having per se. It's really about his mindset and how he is going to be towards you. Do you feel good about having a life with this man and a family? Because based on the things that he is saying, you're going to be provided for, you're going to be protected, you're going to feel safe. Your children are going to be well taken care of. You guys are going to be able to parent together. You guys are going to be able to collaborate together, and you'll have a good relationship. Don't look at his money, although it's important, but don't look at his money and think, I'm going to have a good life. No, because if the
Yeah.
character is there, you're going to be miserable. So don't
Yeah.
look at him like, well, he's broke. So, rich men or men who are well off are just horrible. No, because some broke men have horrible characters too. They have horrible character. Um, so it's really about him being very, very considerate of the fact that he is wanting a wife, he is wanting a family, and what he is saying about those things that make you feel good. They're like, you know what? I can really see myself. Man, I want to give him 4 babies because I know he'll make a good father.
Yeah.
I know he'll make a good father. Like, or I want to. What really gets it is when a woman starts thinking, man, this is such a good man. I want to come in and make his life so much easier. Don't force it because out of trauma. That's the difference. Like, he's been through so much trauma. You want to come in and make things easier for him. No, 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 no. If he is a really good, solid man, and all you could think about is, my gosh, I just want to come in and make his life easier. Oh my God, he works so hard, man. I'm going to make sure all his meals are cooked. I'm a
Hmm.
meal prep for him. His clothes are ironed, taken care of. The house is clean, and when he comes home, he doesn't have to worry about anything. Man, oh, he's so stressed out. I want to give him head to make him feel better. Just when you get into that mode, and that's when you know
No.
that's gonna be a good relationship.
And in order and honestly, fellas, in order for women to even get into that mode, again, we talked about it last time, Maslow's hierarchy of needs. You got to have the most basic things covered so her mind can even be there. If she's worried about the basics, provision, protection, and all these other things, if the right woman, if the right woman that you could get those things from, she can't get to that space, or she's not going to deal with you because you don't even present the base needs for her to say, I can, like you just said, I can come in and make sure he's good, take care of him, give him some head just in case he's having a bad day. These things only exist when you as a man are moving masculinely the way that you should, and you're dealing with women who are not moving in their masculine. One of the things that ties into this, somebody asked this last week, and he asked if women are being pressured to deal with men they do not like in the name of survival. And then also he was saying, who is forcing women to entertain these men, or who is forcing women to entertain men that's struggling? And I'm gonna let you go off. And I was thinking that pop culture has done a lot of that. Struggle Love. Go watch
Mhm.
the movie Baby Boy. Go listen to some of our R&B. Go listen to a lot of that shit. They like they were taught or told to deal with the man who had the problems and the issues,
Mhm.
who couldn't get over his trauma and his background, and they were being told that that's what you do, because you crawl through a mile of shit. Guess what's waiting on you on the other side? A good man and a good outcome. Whereas what
Mhm.
women are finding out and have found out is, as soon as they got in and start crawling this shit, they realize I'm still in it. It didn't
Yep.
change. This is what it is now. You know what I'm saying? So like no, like I wouldn't say it's not one person that has tried to convince women of this. It's culturally, there has been this convincing that don't overlook this guy with all the rough patches and that's got all these red flags, because
Mhm.
when you clean him up and dust him off and get him through all his trauma and nurse him to good health and get him through therapy and everything else, he's gonna be what you want. You know what he's gonna do? He's gonna actually leave you for the woman that he wanted to be that for in the first place. That's
Exactly.
probably what's gonna happen.
Exactly. Look at. I love Tyler Perry movies, but look how they frame the well off guy versus the broke guy, the broke,
Yep.
poor, struggling guy. The broke, struggling guy is always the good guy. He comes in
Yeah.
and rescues the woman from the big bad, poor. I mean, big bad, very successful men. So you are absolutely right. In
Yeah.
all of our media, pop culture, women have been conditioned that broke, struggling men, you just have to stick it out. And then not only that, but in real life evidence, like you see a woman struggling with a man for 10, 15, 20 years, and then he finally puts a ring on her finger, and then 25 years, 5 years later, he finally gets some act right. So it's like
Yeah.
you hold out because they all like this, right? They're all like this, but you get but it's like a diamond in a rough. If you hold out long enough, eventually he'll straighten out. A lot of this comes back to the fact that black men do have a unique identity in America, and it ties into slavery and it ties into Jim
Yeah.
Crow,
Yeah.
that men weren't able to protect. They weren't able to provide. So for a long time, even after Jim Crow, black men weren't able to do these things that are typical of masculine men. So the thing is that you can't hold black men to this standard because society didn't allow them to be protectors, leaders, and providers. But now we are in the 21st century, we're in 2025. Y'all haven't been held back like that or not being able to do that since the 90s.
And
Since
hold on,
the
I want and I want hold on. Let me tap out. I want to pause that narrative just a bit, because one thing I keep telling people, and I said it when I shared a post recently about what somebody said about grandmas and grandpas from back then, and I want to be very clear about something. I need people to really, really. Color Purple did a thing on us. There's a lot of stuff that's done a lot of things, and maybe, just maybe, a lot of you truly, truly, truly did come from these horrible background where granddaddy was all bad and grandmama just stuck it out and survived. Maybe that's all of y'all's story. But then there's a lot of other stories that aren't. I don't relate to that. My grandparents, they don't. I don't relate. I don't relate. And I'm not saying that anything's wrong with you as an individual if you have that in your background. Recognize that you have that in your background and be a person willing to do something different. Because just because you didn't have the example doesn't mean you can't be the example. You can
right.
be something different. So yeah, society at one point didn't we we were always operating with two hands tied behind us and one leg chopped off.
Hmm.
I get it. We were. But now, like she said, we're in this new space. Let's get off of that to a degree. There was a there was a woman that shared something. I'm gonna put Wendy Nurse on blast a little bit. You know what I'm saying? I want to show what she shared on her Facebook page, because when I read it and so many women had shared this same sentiment, that I'm like, bro, we got to get past this bullshit. And she said she saw a proposal where a man said, I've put you through a lot, but you continue to love me. And the people around him applauded. I never want that kind of love to find me. See, that's the stance that women need to have. Again, she's saying, I saw a proposal where a man said, I've put you through a lot, but you continue to love me. And the people around him applauded. And she says, I never want that kind of love to find me. Women, y'all don't have to put up with a whole lot from a man in order to be on the receiving end of a marriage proposal or a lifetime commitment. That's not saying that dating and relating doesn't come with, a little bit of struggle, a little bit of good and bad. But to be put through a lot, to me, that says you have an impression, an embedded impression, to where when that woman gets older, when she becomes a grandma, she gonna be like, "Woo, child." I guess you don't want that.
But see,
you don't want
women have grown up hearing, and I've heard this myself: a piece of man is better than no man. And
I've heard
what
it
that
too.
means
I've heard it
is,
too.
or
I've
men
heard
will be men. At least be with the devil rather than the devil you don't, right? So
yeah.
when to be honest, when I look at the relationships of my family and some of my friends, but especially the women in my family, I realized at a very young age I don't ever want to go through that. From the stuff that I see
Right.
my aunts have to go through, the stuff that I see my male cousins put women through, I was like, I don't ever want to go through that. And so being single after my divorce in my 30s and 40s, when people ask, well, why are you single? It's because I don't ever want to go through feeling like I have to go wait 15 years and go through some serious stuff, to go through you cheating, constantly cheating, you having babies on me, you not committing to me, and me having to prove that I'm a woman who is worthy of marriage and commitment and loyalty to get that. I realized I was worth more. My worth was high. People call me arrogant, egotistical, whatever, but I knew my worth, my self worth was so high that I did not deserve that. Right? I knew who I was as a woman. I knew what I was capable of. I'm loyal. So I expect the man to be loyal. I'm committed. I'm committed.
Loyal, right.
I'm faithful. So I expect you to be that way. These are expectations.
Absolutely.
These are not these are
Absolutely.
not things that are
When you live up, I tell people all the time, when you know as a person, I live up to this standard, oh, you can actually absolutely set the bar there to begin with whomever.
exactly. So it's like and
Absolutely.
these are non-negotiables for me. So when you show me that that
Yeah.
is not who you are, you can't be this way, um, then I'm done. I'm moving on. And no, I'm not going to prove it to you, because as a man, you should be able to recognize these things in me, right? You should be
Right.
a man can recognize a woman who carries these traits, who has these characteristics.
Yep.
I do carry myself of a woman who is worthy of a man to say, that's my woman, that's my man. I made sure to cultivate myself into that. So no, I'm not going to jump through hoops and prove it. So if you're asking that, if you're requiring that, I'm not the one for you. And I don't, maybe it's black men, and I don't want to get into making this black or white thing, right? But I do notice that with a lot of black men, and even the so-called non-select ones, the ones who don't have options like that, are now, because of social media, have now gotten to the space of, well, because I don't know who I am. I don't know what it is that I want. I lack self awareness. So I need you to jump through hoops to show me
Yeah.
that you are a woman who is white. No, you should be able to identify it. That's what the Bible says. He who findeth a wife. So you should be able to identify whether or not I'm a wife. And if you can
Mm-hmm.
identify that I'm a wife, then I expect you to treat me accordingly. And if
Yep.
you're
Yep.
sitting here,
Yep.
you're saying these are the characteristics of a traits of a wife, and then you have a woman in front of you who is actually that, and then you squander her. You don't treat her right. You don't commit to her. You're not loyal. So the bad boys aren't loyal, and then the ones who don't have options don't commit. And if they can commit, they lack the emotional intelligence. They lack they're just emotionally unavailable, so they can't really commit to the relationship. They can commit to the person, but they can't commit to the relationship. So then when you see that happening as a woman, and that's why women are checking out all this, men going your own way, save yourself, black men, y'all are not really checking out of relationships. Y'all are just frustrated and venting, and then you're trying to find a secondary option. Women are like, I'm done. I am checking out. I'm done. I don't want to do this anymore because I'm tired. Because it's a struggle to get someone to try to understand why you're saying what you're saying, why you're feeling what you're feeling, without making you feel like you're crazy. Okay, you said something to me, you talked to me, you were being rude the way that you were talking to me, and I'm trying to explain to you and express to you what you said was rude, and you're up here dismissing and invalidating what I'm saying, or you're up here liking other women's pictures. That does not make me feel good. That doesn't make me feel like you're committed to me. And you're out here making me feel like I'm crazy, something is wrong with me. No, I don't like that you have this best friend that is a female that is all up in your face. She gets to ride in the front seat. Y'all all hugging on each other, people mistaking y'all together, and I'm the crazy one, right?
Mhm.
Or I don't like that you yell at me. I don't like that you, because you are in a heightened emotional state, now you're screaming and yelling at me. I don't like that you're not talking to me or you shut down on me. And yet, when women are expressing these things, we're crazy. Like, how are we crazy? Because you are doing something, we are responding to something you're doing. I'm not talking about women who are sitting there dealing with issues from their past relationship. And because, well, because he did it, I think you're going to do it. So I got to
Right.
make you.
You're talking about what they're dealing with currently
Yes.
with the men that they're interacting with, that they're saying this is a problem, that men are now saying, I don't see why it's a problem. You tripping.
Right. I'm venting about work and I come to you and I'm talking to you about a problem I'm having with this woman. And if she doesn't have if a woman has a female group, a core group of women she can talk to, that's who she's gonna talk to. But
Yeah.
sometimes you're all she has.
Yeah. Or sometimes they want to, sometimes women want to get your perspective as the man because they
Mhm.
got their homegirls. They've kind of let that run
Exactly.
the circle.
Yes.
And they're going to say, babe, I ran this by the girls, but tell me what you think.
Yeah, because sometimes,
You,
yeah.
yeah,
Or
yeah.
or she is looking for that masculine energy to contain her, make her feel safe, make her feel like she's all right,
Right.
like she's not losing her mind because something happened. Like, there's nothing like you venting and that man coming and listening, and he said, okay, you good now?
Mm-hmm.
What? You good
And
now? Is
having
everything all
and
right?
having your and having her back,
Yes.
and really making, letting her know that whatever's going on over there, it ain't gonna be no problem over here because we're gonna make it work. So what you need to do, you need to walk away
Exactly.
from that job, you need to quit, you need me to come up there. I joke with my wife all the time. I said, I need to go, I need to come up there, don't I? And she laughed. She was like, you ain't coming up nowhere. I'm like, hey, if I have to, but all in all, I've always joked. I said, let me be the only thing stressing you out. Let me get that bandwidth. The world having that bandwidth to bring extra stress, I don't like that. Leave that for me, because I'm flawed enough to where I know I'm gonna cause friction. The rest of the world, nah, I don't want to give them that kind of room. Like, no, y'all can't be causing too much friction out there. Um,
Right.
that has to be a thing. We can't act like, man, as men, we can't really just sit here and act like we are these perfect vessels, flawless, and it's just the women that are tripping. I have my best friend, he'll call me when him and his wife have something, and a lot of times he'll start with, tell me if I'm tripping or not. And if I think he's tripping, I'm like, bruh, get off that damn woman back. Get off that woman case. Give that woman the benefit of the doubt. Stall out, Debo. And
Mm.
he will really take that in. And I do the same thing. Like, I do it's so we have it so to where, if my wife really felt the need, if she really felt like she was tripping, she can call my brother or best friend and be like, all right, let me make sure I'm not tripping on my husband too bad. Because y'all know, y'all, this is y'all brother. Y'all know him. and it should work that way. Um, Invalidating experiences is not a good way to go about this thing, man. It really isn't. It's
It's
it
not.
really it really
And they
we do it on
do
social media to y'all all the time
we
too.
do it so that's what I was just gonna say. It's done so much on social media, it turns women off. So then by the time you get in the inbox, you're like, ew. Like you're get like when
Yeah.
men are creating this ick factor, and unfortunately your counterparts are creating the ick factor for men who, it just automatically just being turned off. And so it's like the thing to counter that is not to say, well, women should stop being this way. Women are going to always naturally be women. That's
Yep.
why your forefathers put certain protocols into place, so certain social etiquette into play as to how to deal with this. And I think because fathers aren't in the home, their men are not being taught how to deal with the complexity and the wide range of female emotions. Because we can be cool 1 minute and switch on a dime,
Mm,
right? And then men are like, what? Like you were just cool. And they can't handle it. They don't know how to flow. They don't know how to let that switch happen and then contain it without her feeling like she's being invalidated, right?
mm.
Not saying that women have to operate like girls, women have to operate like children, women are not responsible for their emotional state, because there are times where I check too. I check with my female group, and I'm like, am I tripping about this? Like let me know if I'm really upset. Because like with the guy I'm seeing now, we were having a conversation, and he made a joke that I thought was inappropriate. And I normally go with the flow, but I was like talking about something serious. And then his way of dealing with things is he likes to make jokes, right? He likes to, make me laugh to know that I'm okay. And I told him, I was like, listen, I'm not okay with that. So I was like, okay, I'm just gonna go to bed. I will talk to you later. So then I had to call. I was like, am I tripping? Like, did I have a right to feel upset about that? And she's like, well, um, I get why he was joking with you. You get why he was joking, but in that moment, you needed to feel comforted. That's what I needed. You needed to feel comforted,
Yeah.
and he missed the mark on that. So it was
Yeah. Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
so let me have a conversation. So I picked up the phone and I said, listen, I just want to have a conversation because I don't want to end it like that. I just want you to know that I know that you are trying to comfort me,
Yeah.
but
You
that's
you
not
meant
how I
well. You just missed the
well,
mark that
you
time.
missed
Yeah.
right. I told him, I said, you missed the mark. He's like, yeah, I like the joke. I said, yeah, but in that moment, you missed the mark because that
Yeah.
wasn't comforting to me. I didn't feel comforted by that. Although I get that's what you were trying to do, I just didn't feel it. And he
Yeah.
said, okay, you know what? I get it. I apologize. He said, I'm learning. That's what he said. He said, I'm learning. And he said, I understand. That made me
It's
feel good, right?
easily you want to feel good. Don't make me feel bad. You went to sleep with a little grin on your face. You know what I'm
I
saying? The
sure
little
did. I sure did.
the
Ah,
yeah. Hey, you know what I'm saying? It's different. You know what I'm saying? You wish you wish she would have been laying there next to you in that
yeah,
moment. Like
you know what?
damn. You know
Like
what
I
I'm
said,
saying?
if we were in the
Yeah.
same state, because right now we're not in the same state right now. I'm
Yeah.
traveling. I was like, he would have got some. I'm not even
Yeah.
gonna lie. He definitely would have got some by handling it that way. Throughout our
Handling it that
relationship, I
way.
noticed, and that's when it comes to the working part, is that there was something else that we had to talk about. He brought up his ex,
Hmm.
and I was like, listen, that doesn't make, I don't want to be compared to other women. And I know you may not be intentionally doing that. You're just trying to communicate to me what a need that you have or an expectation you have, but you don't have to do that
Oh.
by pointing out what other women have done for you.
Oh,
And
I am a mom. Now, see, I don't communicate that so nicely. I don't ever, I'm not, boy, I have been, see, I have had to learn to be nice about that because if you tell me what you want, just tell me what you want. Don't tell
Mhm.
me what you saw John do for Mary. Don't tell me what Will did for Susan. Don't tell me what somebody did for you in the past. Just tell me what you want. I don't need to know its origin story. I go really. I don't do that.
Right.
I
So
don't
we had
do
that
that.
conversation. And he again recognized. Now, the one time that I struggled to get him to understand what I needed in the moment was politics. I do not. I was like, listen, we cannot talk politics at all. We are
And
not.
you know what? Wait, so y'all don't talk, y'all don't talk politics at all?
We every time we try to talk politics because we are on different sides of the
That's
spectrum.
fine. Yeah.
And although I consider I'm probably small c conservative in my belief system, but when it comes to socially, I'm a Democrat, right?
Yeah.
He's a conservative. Yes, he is black, people. He's black. Um, but we had he would talk to me about the way he talked about Democrats, right? I felt some type of way. I was like, he's
Yeah. Yeah.
judging us and belittling us. I know he's not talking to me personally, but I'm a Democrat. So one time we were on the phone and I was like, I don't want to talk about this. So I shut down. I was like, I don't want to talk about this. So I shut down. But then I was like, okay, no, you can't be that way. That is not the way to be in a relationship just because you got upset and you couldn't handle what he was saying, even though he was being rude, right? Um, so I had to reach back out to him. I texted him. I said, "Listen, I'm sorry. Like, I didn't want you to know that I don't. It's not that I'm rejecting you. I just don't feel comfortable with those conversations because they're too heated." And he said,
Yeah.
"Well, he said I understand that, but in order for me to understand you, certain things have to be said. Certain things have to be communicated." So when we talked again, I expressed to him, I'm like, I'm not shutting down on conversations about politics. However, the things that you say, even though you're thinking you're not talking about me, you can't not separate me from the group because that's how I vote. So when you're calling a sheep, so that could tell you who he is. When you're
Right.
calling a
Right. Right.
sheep,
Right. Right.
or and it's like it doesn't make me feel good and I don't like it. So we had this long conversation and we came to this understanding. Um, so we can discuss politics now, but we go about it in a more respectful way. I noticed that he is more respectful about it. He doesn't
Yeah.
just say what he wants to say. So that's what it really is all about. It's about him working towards understanding that if I want to be with this woman, there are things that she needs from me, and it's not her trying to take away from my manhood. And I think that's what men think. Like a woman saying, I need this from you, this doesn't make me feel good. They think that we're trying to take away from their manhood,
Hmm.
take away from their masculinity, make them feel weak, trying to control them. Again,
Yeah.
that's
Change them. Yeah.
yeah, but that's usually avoidant men or non-committal men who struggle with that, and
Yeah.
that's a huge sign about find that realizing that this man is non-committal or he's avoidant, because when he's focused on just getting what he wants, he's not going to be interested in your needs and what you want, so he will go to dismissing and validating them. So when you got a
Hmm.
man who is not doing that, you as a woman are going to have to learn to work with him too. So I know he likes to talk about politics, right? So it's like, okay, let's set up a perimeter, because I normally don't talk
Yeah.
politics when people are dating. um
Yeah.
I used to, but then I'm like, y'all just trying to like fight, and I don't want to fight. So no, I don't want to do it. But with him, I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, in order for this relationship to work, he likes having well-rounded conversations because I'm scared I can't just shut him down. So okay, let's have some perimeters. The language you're using, I find offensive and belittling. Can we not have that? Okay, yes, that's fine. Um, I don't talk. I don't judge him for how he votes. He doesn't judge me for how I vote. There's no judgment on that. Now we can talk about our differences. We talk about our differences. We talk about why we are ideologically aligned the way we are, and then we got that understanding, and the conversation was smooth, and we kept it. So I don't feel anxiety now talking to him about things, and that's what both sides need. Men need to feel free to be able to open up and talk about the things that they want to talk about without fear of rejection or the woman now avoiding or
Hmm.
abandoning. The woman has to feel that way as well. So both sides have to feel like they are free to express themselves and just be themselves. um, and if you are with someone that you don't like who they're being, then you, instead of trying to talk them into or manipulate them into becoming who you want them to be, you need to move on. If you can't
And
wait or take the time for them to progress to get there, you need to move on.
I would say for men, man, sometimes we like to talk the way that we talk. We don't want to filter it. We don't want to change it. We want that pure, crazy, masculine expression that we have amongst our peers or amongst those that communicate the same way we do. If you know that you can't turn that off on very specific subject matters, be willing to say to yourself, then I'm not going to have those conversations with my woman. If you really truly know, like, you know how you and your boys get when y'all talk sports. And if she's willing to engage in sports, but she can't engage with the craziness, then you have to be okay with saying, if she doesn't need to talk sports and I have another outlet for that, let me just go ahead. Like, I think, like, for me, it was religion. I can talk religion depending on how the person comes across. But at any moment where somebody wants to be demeaning or talk down on what I view, I can go there real quick and I can match that. And typically it's going to go, it's not going to go well in their favor. Not saying I'm winning the argument. I'm just saying I can just be more brutal. When I find myself in that space of brutality, I say, yeah, we don't need to discuss that. That's okay. We can talk about a lot of other things. There's a whole lot of other topics. That is not something that I'm so moved to discuss to where we have to discuss it. If you are so moved to discuss that, then I'll set the parameters. If you are so moved to discuss that, I'm gonna tell you how you have to discuss it with me to get it to where I don't go there with you. Because because this is where I'm gonna go. You know, I know, because I get excited and I can't wait to trade. Mm-hmm. But if that's gonna make you feel some way, I prefer we not. You said something earlier, and then we can close after this, but you said something earlier that is very, very important that everybody needs. Self-awareness is such a, man, that is a tool to have. And self-awareness, I think sometimes people think self-awareness means that you have it all together.
Yeah.
Or that you've self-actualized to the point that you don't need to learn anything else. That's not what self-awareness is. Self-awareness is simply having a very good grasp on who you are as an individual, for better or for worse. Mm-hmm. And you can relay that to to other people for better or for worse. When my wife was able to tell me that she had a fear of abandonment, when she could actually be that vulnerable and tell me that that was a thing and where it came from, knowing that, I know how to navigate. Not saying that you're putting handcuffs on me and training wheels on me, telling me, look, this is how you got to deal with me because I got this going on. No, this is what I have going on. And then leave it to me to say, all right, okay, what makes you feel that way? What made you feel that way? And then once I know what made you feel that way, how you got there, I'm like, well, that's easy. I can avoid these triggers. Very simple, me as an individual, and vice versa. If there's things that made me feel a way and I put it out there, she's really, and my wife is annoyingly a perfectionist. So if I tell her something, she really wants to get that shit right. I mean, really. Now, I tell her, hey, don't hold me to your standard. But she is a list checking. Mm-hmm. I want to get it right the next time around. And so she does not want to, like really, really serious about it. You got to have a degree of self-awareness to move like that. And men and women both need that. Fellas, y'all need that. If you're gamers, you're military men, you lack emotional depth or you can't read the room and all that stuff, y'all need the self-awareness to know what that is. Yeah, you really do. And it's okay, isn't it? Nothing in what you posted or said that men were horrible people for having some of these characteristics.
I think, I think I'm just triggering them. I think, but self-awareness is also being aware of why you do what you do. Why you are the way that you are, why how what you're doing affects others. And a lot of times, and this is the frustrating part about what I do. Like, people don't realize that I actually do this for a living. I'm not on here just having conversations like, oh, the pandemic happened and everybody decided to hop online and start having relationship conversations. I hopped on social media to because social media is a great avenue to spread awareness.
Right.
But this is what I actually do. I have real life clients that I work with. I'm actually not only a matchmaker, but I'm a dating counselor. I use counselor because I don't coach. I don't give people game. I actually guide people on on their dating
Coach.
and mate selection, and I help them become aware of their
Mhm.
behavior and why they're doing what they're doing, and how it's affecting them, how other people's decisions, what they like, what they don't like. Because I've been highly self-aware since I was a kid. I don't know how I was born this way, which made me socially awkward, by the way, because I was
Yeah.
highly, can you
When you're
imagine
young
that?
and you're like that, yeah, when you're young and like
Highly
that, it
aware,
does.
and you're being around kids who are doing stupid stuff, and you're like, no, we shouldn't be doing that, no, you want to do that, and you're telling them why, and they're like treating you like you're the Debbie Downer. So I was the socially awkward
Mm-mm.
one. So in that, it's, and the one thing I've found that makes it very hard is because what I'm finding is the people who push back on the very reasonable rationale that I am putting out is because they're not aware that they are non-committal, in fact, or they're avoidant. And I get into talking about attachment styles. And the one thing that a study has shown is that I've already started to recognize is that amongst black men, and I'm doing the research. I'm actually actively engaging and conducting a study about how many black people are have a secure attachment style and how many people have an insecure attachment style. And
Man.
preliminary evidence is showing that within our community,
Mhm.
whereas by the population, the general population is about 50-50. But in our community, we lean heavily avoidant, and avoidant people are going to be non-committal. And then we don't believe in therapy,
Yep.
so we don't get therapy to help us to gain self-awareness. Like, these are things that um it's either going to be innate or it's going to be taught to you. You need to understand why you're doing what you're doing, and most people think they're doing it because that's just the way I am. Like, I've been this way all my life. Okay, but why are you that way? Why do you make these decisions? Why do you choose these things? So for me, I know why I do what I do, because I had the conversation with myself first. And then when I'm going to do something, how does this impact the people around me? How does it impact my community? How does it impact society at large? Right? So, like, when it came time for me, when I wanted to have a child, well, I always knew I wanted to be married. And I always knew what type of man I wanted to marry, what type of man was going to lead to the fact that I'm going to be able to get married. I'm going to have a family. He's going to lead. He's going to provide. And all these things are going to be taken care of. What I didn't expect was he's going to join the military and wreck my marriage. But I knew that rather than going in and thinking that I could just have sex with no consequence, right? A lot of people are out here, women, having sex and not being aware that there's a consequence to that, that you could
We
possibly
ain't
get,
with boy, you bet
and be
not. Don't do
pregnant,
that.
right?
Don't do
And you
that.
could get pregnant by a man who's not going to be there, or you're not aware of the men that you're choosing, and that man is going to dog you out. He's not going to treat you well. He's not going to take care of you. He's not going to commit to you. So the lack of awareness of, or you as a woman not understanding that the reason why you're choosing bad boys is because you yourself is an avoidant. You yourself are trying to avoid an emotional connection, so you're choosing men who are devoid of who are emotionally unavailable. So
Yep.
people aren't aware of this. When you gain that high self-awareness, and this is a double-edged sword, high self-awareness, when you see people who are coping with alcohol, drugs, those
Hmm.
people usually have high self-awareness and they can't deal with the realities of
Yep.
the world. Because sometimes when you become aware of why people do what they do, why you're doing what you're doing, when you become highly aware of this stuff, you start to realize, dang, I might be by myself. I
You
might be
know,
okay.
And one thing you said that I think Black people really ought to take into consideration. What you said is, most as you're studying this, you're coming to realization that most Black people are avoidant. How can we? And it may not all be our fault. We know there's a lot of background that we have that leads into this. But think about something, Black people. Before you take this personal, think about this. For whatever reason, not for whatever reason, for a lot of reasons that we're aware of, we're the only collective that lacks actual community. Listen to what I'm saying. I didn't say we're the only collective that don't have neighborhoods. We are the only collective in the United States that does not have actual community. You cannot be avoidant as a group and actually establish communing. You can't do it. You can't, and y'all can feel how y'all want about every other group. They have community. All the races and the gay people, they have communities. We don't. We still don't. How we got there, that's a whole other conversation, but it lends it. That's a big proof of what you're saying.
Yeah. So it is.
You can't have communities without families. You can't establish families without relationships, and you can't get in relationships if you're avoiding.
Exactly. I mean, you can,
but they're not.
It's gonna be a struggle. So, and then when you become highly self-aware and you start to realize these things, it does start to play with your mind. And I think for a lot of women who are self-aware, that's when a desperation comes in. I don't want to be alone, because I've gone through that, and I found myself dating and being in a relationship with a guy where I was like, this is not feel good, but I was trying, like, I saw the red flags early on. And I was thinking to myself, I'm like, he's a narcissist. Like, and I'm not saying that colloquially. I'm like, I bet you if he went to a therapist, he would be diagnosed with MPD. But me, in thinking, I don't want to be alone, I'm getting older. Like, this is something that seems to be prevalent amongst men, these traits that are, the emotional unavailability, the empathy is not there. So since he has all these other traits, I convinced myself that this was just as good as it's going to get. It didn't last very long, because I still held to my standards. I still held to my boundaries, and those type of people, they don't care about your boundaries. They don't care about your standards. So it did not last very long at all. I came out of it with very minimum damage, but I do take responsibility for the fact that this is a man that I went in knowing, right? And I made in my awareness, that's where awareness kicks in. Awareness helps you to have responsibility and accountability for your decisions and your actions. So I can't be mad at him. Heck, I wasn't even mad at myself. I was like, I went in knowing that this man had this serious flaw, this serious red flag. I saw the manipulation. I saw the lack of empathy, right? But I thought I could manage myself. I was like, I can manage myself in this. We're going to get married, and I'm going to have some more babies and we'll ride off into the sunset. So what if he's not doing this and doing that? But in the reality is, I couldn't do it, and it fell apart. And I was like, well, okay. I'm not mad. I'm not angry. I'm not hating. I don't look at all men this way, because I made that decision. I made that choice. But I'm telling you, women at it, as when it comes to mate selection.
Well, hold on. He was narcissist. Was he good looking?
I found him attractive. I don't know if other people would find.
Oh no, I was just worried because I know you get on the good looking men around here, so I know.
Listen, and then I'm finding myself that I've got to just accept dating these good looking men, because that's all that I'm attracting. They're tall and
there
good
you
looking.
go.
Like, oh my gosh, okay, so I've got to be open to dating one.
You got to be
attracting. So maybe, well, the one that I'm with now, he's called attractive, and this seems like it's gonna work, because he has the qualities and the traits. So I was like, when I told women, if you get a fine one and you feel good about being with him, you can see yourself being with him because of how he is, how he's being, you basically got a unicorn. So maybe I got a unicorn on my hands right now. But yeah, now I'm attracting them, so now I'm open to dating them because that's all that's around. It seems like they're the older. I like older men, so the older they are, they seem to like me a lot. So I was like, okay, well, let's see. But but my point is, if it comes down to it, I'm not promoting people to just be alone and just forego marriage. What I'm saying is sometimes what you're looking for is not out there right now. And if it
Right.
takes you to be single and alone until you find that, then that's just how we
That's
have to
that's
men
that's
and
that's
women.
fine. Absolutely. 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 All right then. I enjoyed this as usual. So what we've learned today, coach,
Right.
counselor, coach, counselor. That's what I'm talking about. She ain't here to give y'all game, none of that. She's gonna help y'all through. I can coach, I can say, hey man, I can help you get your foot in the door. That I can guarantee you get a first date. And I can guarantee you a second one if you listen. Now, after that, listen, comes to relating and all the other stuff. I'm still figuring that out myself. So no. I don't do all that. I will own the bullshit. You know what I'm saying? I will talk about what I've learned over time, but no. I don't have nothing
Whereas
to do with that.
I'm more focused
But
on helping people become self-aware, focus on establishing a more authentic identity, um, figuring out what your blind spots are. So it's more about you as a person so that you can become better at mate selection.
good stuff. Good stuff. We went a little long today, but
Yeah.
that's good. That's good. Trust me, and I know I already got some other stuff for the next go around. So I'll see you back around these parts next week. Go ahead and get into your weekend, whatever you got planned. Go ahead and get into it. And I'm glad you came through.
All righty. Well, until next time, you all take care. And like I always say, date smarter, not harder.
All right then. Later, y'all.